Okay, that must mean that we are at 9 o'clock. So good morning, everybody. I'm gonna get right to it. We start every Monday morning with public comment. I'm gonna call this meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners to order and ask how many people in the room are here to make public comment this morning. 1, 2, 3.
I missed the question, I'm sorry.
How many people in the, oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. And online? Okay, so we've got at least 15 people, so I'm going to limit public comment to 2 minutes per person. And we'll start at the back corner. John, come on up. Nice to see you. Yeah, and I see everybody who's joined us virtually. Called in to make public comment this morning, you're gonna need to press *9 to raise your hand. Okay.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is John Holbert. I'm a Brennan resident and the project manager for Statesman. And I'm here to give you an update on the project this morning. On Friday, the Statesman's Board of Directors voted no confidence in the county's contract planner and the county DCD's ability to complete and manage this pre-plat contract. We've spent 15 months and $200,000 in direct invoicing for her time. There's 12 days left of the 90 days allotted for pre-plat review. And there's nobody at DCD as of last Tuesday who can tell us what the scope of pre-plat remaining is. The county website shows a total of $10,377 for this review, and we're $200,000 into it. And she's just asked for another $42,000 of review and 5 months of her time. That, along with her continued expansion of her scope and the county's unwillingness for 7 months to address this. I have been requesting since May 6th last year to have her scoped. And the county has not done so. Well, the first meeting we got was at the end of January this year, and that sounded really good. But as of last Tuesday, what the board heard was, we're not any closer. She's saying 5 months, and she was saying 5 to 7 months when we started 15 months ago. So this is not me speaking. Our board has decided there's no win with this. It's not getting any closer. We have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. I literally trying to address her last request to us last August. I spent $123,000 on largely redundant reports that she already had. Those reports came back saying no change from the above. And now we're going to go back for another review, which will come back with comments again. And our board is just throwing up their hands. We cannot win at this. Okay, thank you for your time, and my comments are going to be delivered right over here.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Ryan, did I see your hand up?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time again. As Mr. Holbert said, there's 12 days left to review of the 90 days of our contract. The county DCD has signed a contract for $100,000 more of review when $120,000 had already been spent for these remaining 12 days of review. Like Mr. Holbert said, $23,000 of review has already been spent on engineering review, and then we get a scope of review for another $41,000 worth of review. 41.5, basically $42,000 worth of review. To answer a few remaining questions, we received this letter, which I have for you all, with a few remaining questions to be answered. We have answered these questions. And they're saying that there's, after $23,000 worth of review, there's another $41,000 to review and comment on the few remaining questions. There's 12 days left of the 90 days allotted for this review. And, you know, it keeps referring back to almost creating a new DA. She quotes out text stating for approval of a DA. Well, we already have an approval of a DA. The code requires that we start from the point of the DA and do that review forward. We're not supposed to go back and revisit and review all of those stated artifacts in the DA. And so we keep going back and we keep going back instead of going, hey, yep, this is checked off. They cannot provide any form of checklist. They're creating this like out of thin air, basically. How is there not a checklist? We're required to provide a clear and concise list of what needs to be done. However, DCD can't come up with a list of what's remaining. What's the checklist to provide? A actual approved pre-plat. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Shelley?
Extending the surface water quality baseline requirements to groundwater, 30-day delay, $40,000 cost. Refusing to accept finding of the designated hydrologist on surface water baseline date, 7 months time, over $200,000 cost. Finding a required 8-hour public works review published as costing $888 is equal to a full civil engineering review. Time spent, 2 months, cost $35,000. Using Jefferson County, Colorado codes by mistake, $35,000. Suggesting/insisting this must be redone at a cost of $42,000 plus the time and cost of $247 an hour to redo the mistake already charged. Requiring a new geotechnical report to be rewritten after it was shown the new report would show no changes. Time spent, 4 months, $51,000. Charging the resort to onboard consultants' new company, OTAC, after leaving FCJ Alliance, $1,700 cost. The consultant charges the resort when preparing an update for the BOCC, for the county attorney, for a 2-hour weekly meeting update for DCD, all at $247 an hour. Some of these same meetings result in a charge of an associate planner as well. This is even during months waiting for a reply for the resort. Pleasant Harbor Master Plan Resort has avenue to recover the cost of the mistakes made by the contract planner and DCD staff. Are they just expected to write checks for the time spent making mistakes and the cost in both time and money producing documentation? The largest problem has been the scope of the review of the pre-plat issues and the county's unwillingness to provide meaningful oversight of its consultants. Estimated cost of these errors, $420,000, $420,627. Thank you.
Jean, and then we'll go to Maggie.
Good morning. Greg, you missed the mark when you accused me of politicizing this issue. This is not about politics. This is about process, participation, sharing of information, and leadership. This is about you hearing from only one side. I know I'm only hearing from one side. You must hear from both sides. The consequences of failure are far too great to ignore. We have seen too many problems caused by the bottleneck of our commissioners being isolated from the dialogue with the developer. We need you. We want you to roll up your sleeves and help solve this problem. I have confidence in your ability to shed light on the dark corners of this complicated and consequential barrier to the mutual benefit of the county and the development. I know that you can help facilitate and expedite the process, not the politics, if you engage. And I'm going to skip some of this and go as quickly as I can to the bottom end of the comment. I'm going to use a quote I stole from Heather during a recent update on Munis. She said, every large task is broken down into a lot of small ones. Thank you for that. This project is not so insurmountable as they would have you believe. You have accomplished big things before and you can do it again. You can help DCD improve their process. You can help lift people out of poverty in South County and bring them stable employment. You can help bring dozens of recreational activities to the community. You can help bring hundreds of homes to market. You can help bring a boatload of new taxes that will support all of the taxing beneficiaries and services. You can help give the county 2 new pools in Brennan, which will be built without tax dollars and are open to the public. Don't do it for the developer, do it for the people.
Thank you, Jean. Maggie and then John.
Okay, so among the entire population of the US, infectious disease is the fifth leading cause of death. Among people experiencing homelessness, it's 45% of deaths are caused by infectious disease, followed by heart attack, which is 17%. Now, last year, when OLECAP was the contractor, they had the cold weather shelter over at the community center at the Oak Marine Park, where they crammed everybody in there. People got sick. The shelter had no access to shower for 5 months from January through April. So the CDC is citing lack of access to hygiene as a transmission problem. So you guys are the ground zero for the transmission rate for infectious disease. People need access to showers, toilets, and laundry. The money for the laundry tends to run out 2 weeks into the month. So we need more funding for laundry. People should be able to do their laundry once a week, not once a month. They should showers during the winter time. They can't go to the parks because the showers are shut down. There could be a lot of reason for that because they've shut down a campground or whatever. But they shut down the showers there. There's no permanent shutdown for the marinas, so they can't get showers there. Maybe they'll expand the hours at the YMCA, but they would need more funding for that. The boilers were down for 5 months last year, so at the same time, they didn't have access to showers.
Maybe that's 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So, ground zero, you guys, for infectious disease transmission.
I'm gonna go in the, John, do you have a comment?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Don Hamilton, Port Townsend. First of all, I'd like to talk about supporting the issues around DCD not getting their job done. I've complained to this board before about DCD. I think you've got a problem with your director. If he can't fix things, maybe we need to change that. But DCD's been a problem, and you've heard it all the time. So even the most senior person here, Greg's heard about it from day one. You folks need to direct them to correct whatever's going wrong over there. Why I came up here today is on your consent agenda. Item number 3, Olympic Discovery Trail, Anderson Lake Road connection. You're gonna put in you're gonna make it a 4-way stop. I agree with that 100%. That is a dangerous intersection, and a lot of people use it coming and going to the landfill, drop off. But $34,000 and $34,500 to put in 2 stop signs, I think that needs to be addressed. That's an awful lot of money for just 2 stop signs that the county road crew is gonna do. I'd like an explanation of why $4,000 for engineering for 2 stop signs, and then $30,000 and then $500 added just because. Doesn't make sense to me. So I think that's something that needs an explanation. Thank you.
Okay, was there a hand up in the back row? Did you have your hand up? Come on up.
I guess so.
You can do it.
So, my name is Linda Peterson Shad, and I appreciate the fact that I can come and say something. I'm going to speak about the road condition at on the Hoe. And about 100 years ago, my grandmother worked for the Corps of Engineers and had a camp at Nolan Creek, and basically did all the cooking and dishwashing for the Corps of Engineers when they were building and designing the road from Forks to Aberdeen. You probably know all of that. But at that time, she had two of her youngest children with her and up camping, and the only way you could get there was by horse. So she did that. She fell in love with the beauty and the magic of the whole river valley. I think that she probably knew that at some point, others would probably see the value and see the beauty of that area. But she fell in love with it, with the money that she earned when she was in her late 20s. She bought land up there. And land she was a bit of a minimalist. She never drove a car. When she was 65 years old, she chose to live up there when her husband died, and she moved from Forks, had no electricity and no running water. The family is still there. I work up there in the summertime with basically at Peak 6. I kind of depend on that. I also am an instructor at Peninsula College, so I serve young people that come out of the Hoh Valley in that area in Jefferson County.
That's
I
2
will-
minutes.
Oh.
Can you wrap it up?
Yes, I guess what I'm saying is that I would appreciate you taking a look at that and that road and possibly putting a stop and go light up there. We're used to stop and go lights up the whole river. I'm late for work many times because of the stop and go lights, but I think that would be one way to mitigate things, and at least temporarily. And there are long-term solutions as well. But the river takes and it gives. And at this point, I think it would be really important because there are hundreds of thousands of people who come up there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the back row back there? Nope. Coming back around to the front row. Come on up.
Joe Beisch, Brennan, Washington. Briefly, Tammy McCourtney is going to present to you a project in a few minutes. A group of us, Tammy is working with a group of us, and it's really important that that you support this project. You've got Washington State Park is a multi-million-dollar partner. You've got Washington State Highways, which is a multi-million-dollar partner, and you've got the multi-million-dollar shellfish industry that's a partner in water quality and flood control on the Dossie Walsh River. And just one last comment. The dichotomy between the income levels of people in Brennan just really continue to cause problems, especially with our young people, our children. And the industry that we're trying to build there is just critical to answer that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Come on up.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Kurt Virginius. I'm with Discovery Northwest. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission is to promote the discovery of public lands within the Northwest. And we accomplish that by enriching experiences of our visitors and trying to promote through those experiences stewardship of our public lands. Over the last 50 years, Discovery Northwest has contributed $25 million of in-kind and direct aid to National Park Service and public land management partners. My role with Discovery Northwest is I'm a branch manager of Discovery Northwest bookstores in Olympic National Park. We have them in 3 locations: Port Angeles, the Hoh Visitor Center, and in Claywalk. And I'm here this morning just to kind of bring into focus from our vantage point what the road outage is going to impact us. Obviously, a road outage means we cannot get the visitor center open. We cannot sell and promote the stewardship message that we get with our visitors there. So it's definitely gonna impact our ability to promote, public lands. We are really concerned about public disappointment. There's gonna be a lot of confusion with visitors also too, which may just redirect visitors to other places. Again, affecting the local community. It'll also diminish local job opportunities in a gateway community. Myself, I try to hire 2 cashiers every year to work at the visitor center. Again, tax revenue, it's gonna be diminished if the whole road. And a big concern is the risk of natural resources in the absence of land managers. If the road's closed, we will not have a presence in what I think is one of our national treasures.
Thank you.
yes, indeed.
That's been 2 minutes.
All right, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else left on this side? Okay, yeah, you wanna come up? Come on up.
Great.
Get back.
My name's Pat Neal. Just flew in from the Hoh River. Boy, my arm's tired. I just came to beg. I've been guiding on the Hoh, fishing and rafting for 38 years. And this is not just a local problem about the Hoh River. A modern American vacation is like a road rally. People fly in, get a rental car, hotels. They want to go to Port Townsend, Hurricane Ridge, Saldecott Springs, Lake Crescent, Hoh Rainforest, lunch, then Ocean Shores, Astoria for dinner. I mean, it is incredibly, this is not just a local problem, having the whole road out. It affects the whole area. I mean, everything from whale watching here to everything else in the peninsula. These people come here and I can't even compute the amount of money they spend. Hotels, motels, my raft guide service, so this is not a local problem. And it's ironic that a mile up the road from this washout, there's a rock pit with a big pile of county rocks there. My logging buddies could fix this in a week. But to let it go, oh, by the way, right now it's raining in the whole rainforest. This is only gonna get worse and cost more money. So I know everybody should beg it for money, so I'm just gonna be one of them. Please give me money. No, I mean, fix this road. This is not just a local problem, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to anyone else in the back row on this side.
Back row.
Yep, come on up.
Oh.
Come on up, middle row.
It'll be okay.
And we have 6 or 7 people with their hands raised online as well.
I'm gonna start bringing them over.
Okay,
Okay, my name is Roger Myrie and I live in Brenham. And I want to spend some time to give my impressions on what is going on and with the Pleasant Harbor Resort Project. It's been ongoing for 18+ years. The original intent back in 1972 was to create jobs for local people. I understand the county commissioners are committed to complete the project. However, I think any reasonable person thinks that 18 years is unacceptable and unreasonable. I understand the county commissioners employ a county planning staff. They approve all contracts issued by the planning department for consulting. If so, they have the ability and the responsibility to see that work is accomplished in a timely and cost-effective manner. This is not done. If this is not done, action should be taken. I don't mean to imply our current commissioners are responsible for what has gone on the last 18 years. They just need to look at what has gone on past and improve results now and in the future. Use whatever power you have to demand employees work to make Jefferson County open to responsible development of a growing tax base and creation of employment opportunities. We need revenue from this county. We need revenue from outside this county. One example now ongoing in phase 1 of the Harbor Resort, which is construction of a large fabrication building. Phase 1 has been approved, as I understand it, but the building needs its own permit. This building is a pre-engineered, stress on pre-engineered steel building. These have been constructed in hundreds of thousands of times. They are already engineered. What is the hold?
That's 2 minutes.
Moving on to another issue, which I.
That's 2 minutes, sir.
Oh,
If you have something written, you can submit it.
Yeah, you can go ahead and wrap up too, if you want to finish your thought.
okay, well, the point being is something has to change, and we look to the county commissioners to work on improving what's going on.
You want to give us your whole written comment?
Excuse me?
You want to give us your whole written comment?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger.
The other issue that I didn't get to address was about the floodplain in Brennan.
Thank you.
And
Anyone else on this side of the room?
Could you put me last after, I'm getting smarter every time.
Okay, we have a timed hearing at 9:30, but we're gonna probably push that a little bit later, a few minutes late, because
It's not here.
we'd like to hear an item, sorry for the wrong word. Let's see, Anna Peterson. Do you wanna, you'll need to unmute and then you'll have 2 minutes for public comment. Thank you.
Hi, I'm actually here with my dad as well. So if I can have 2 minutes and he can have 2 minutes, that would be great.
Okay,
Perfect. Hi, my name is Anna Matchia. I grew up on the Upper Hoe Road. I farm on the Upper Hoe Road, and my husband and I have owned and operated the Hard Rain Cafe for the last 20 years on the Upper Hoe Road. Lack of action on the Upper Hoe Road washout risks real jobs and proven businesses, not just the only road connection to a World Heritage Site. Construction of a temporary fix must begin now to stabilize the road for use before further damage turns it into a much more complicated and costly project. Already $50,000 of economic harm have been done at Peak 6, and due to the closed road signage and roadblocks turning people away. In 4 days, Hard Rain Cafe is set to reopen for the season, and we will head towards immediate losses. 2 cafe workers have just been removed from the March schedule so far due to the news I was given last week by the county commissioners that there is no foreseeable plan. These are 2 people that look to me for stable employment, and I have to tell them that our county has no plan. In the summer months, our staff goes up to 8. These are 8 West End jobs put in jeopardy by inaction, a waiting game. The county may feel like it has time to spare on this issue, but my staff and I need to know, what is your plan? How soon can we get a stabilized one-way road? The people who can't wait are our creditors. We order custom merchandise every September for the following season. We are already under contract for this product. These bills will not go away if the road isn't fixed. When consulting with the commissioners for up-to-date information last week, I found one commissioner's words to be especially disturbing. You realize your valley only contributes $6,000 of property taxes, and the project costs $600,000. You don't have the funds for the project. After digesting this statement for 4 days, I would like to reply that we are much more than $6,000 of property taxes, which after doing some math with my neighbors is grossly underestimated.
Anna, that's 2 minutes. Do you want to turn it over to you?
If I can just add, we're 20 years of employers. We are 20 years of sales tax contributions. We are parents training our children to be responsible taxpayers. We expect the same from our county. We want responsible action, and we're asking for a temporary fix. We understand big projects take time, take big money, but we need a temporary fix. Otherwise, disasters will happen this season for our whole Hoe Valley. That's 4 businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Gary Peterson. I live on the Peterson Ranch at the 5-mile marker of the Upper Hoe Road. My work history includes 6 years of Fish and Wildlife Department for the U.S. Forest Service. I was on a habitat restoration team that worked projects in the Salduck and Clawa River systems. I learned a lot from the Forest Service work about geomorphology, but I learned even more from 60 years of watching hundreds of weather events and floods on the Hoe River. The first and most important Hoe River lesson was, if you give the river an inch, it will take a mile, which brings us to the issue at hand. Why should we have a temporary fix now? The first reason is because we do not yet have a disaster. One usable lane still exists used by park and tribal employees. Stabilizing the bank now allows for public use and stops further damage. The second reason is why should we have a temporary fix now is I just wrote a check for $2,671 to the Jefferson County for property taxes. I didn't really have the money, but I sucked in my belt and wrote the check. From our point of view, we have an implicit contract with the county. We pay taxes and the county maintains our roads. So far, claiming I'm short on cash has not reduced or eliminated my tax liability or responsibility. The county needs to keep its part of this bargain. The second question is, why do we need a temporary fix now? The first reason is we have 5 employees at Peak 6 that depend on salary that depends on the road being open. Second reason is we have $500,000 of custom-made inventory with more coming in every day. Orders must be placed 8 months in advance. The third reason is Peak 6 collects for state and county upwards of $80,000 in sales tax per year, but only if we sell product.
Gary, that's 2 minutes.
The bottom line is we don't need $600,000 fix now. We need a temporary fix now, and maybe this won't turn into a $200,000 fix. All right. $2 million fix. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for showing up this morning. We appreciate it. Okay. We're gonna do the rest of the people online and then come back to you. So next we'll go to Lissy Andros. Lissy, you're gonna need to unmute and you'll have 2 minutes.
Can y'all see me?
Yeah, we can see
Okay,
you.
great. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak in front of the commissioners. I just want to make a comment. I'm Lissy Andros with the Forks Chamber of Commerce. This is a huge economic impact on our community for both the businesses and for the county. There's not just 4 businesses that rely on this road being open. There's an unlimited number of businesses in Jefferson and Clallam County that depend on this road. This is referred to as the Old Faithful of Olympic National Park that is now inaccessible. The whole message that the Hoh Rainforest is closed is very, very damaging. The impact on the resources, if the Hoh Rainforest, if the national parks portion is not open, it's going to put a huge strain on the Claylock area. It's going to put a huge strain on the other areas. And when I say a huge strain, the National Park reported that 3,759,165 people visited the National Park in 2024. And just if half of those people come to the West End, that's 1.8 million people who would be coming here that may be affected, may choose to not come here, which would be a huge economic hit to our county and to Jefferson County. It could be people who are now looking for other places to go. It's people who are now angry. It's just a cascading effect of negativity. So I stand with Gary and Anna and the people who said, let's put a temporary fix in for this and figure out a way to fix it permanently. But we can do this. We know how, and we're used to these kind of problems out here and we're used to solving them. So I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Lissy.
Thank you.
Ed Bowen, you have 2 minutes once you get unmuted.
Here we go. Ed Bowen, West Jefferson. Thanks for hearing my comments. Continuing on the South Shore Road, but I think I'll pull in the Upper Hoh also. I need to know if the county has had any reports from Olympic National Park on what they plan to do themselves. I will say for the Upper Hoh, they post on their website that the Upper Hoh washout is even closed to pedestrians and bicycles. And that photograph that is posted on the county's website surely shows there's a clear pathway to get around the washout for at least pedestrians and bicycles. So in my opinion, that's the Olympic National Park's miscommunication for them to make that statement that there's a closure even to pedestrians and bicycles. But what's going on with the South Shore Road, I still continue to wonder. It's my understanding the governor may possibly sign a declaration for both road systems, but that don't have a lot of expectation in that, but hopefully we will understand this week. I sure would like to know if the governor is going to sign emergency declaration for the two roads. And last but not least, the white stuff on the upper or the South Shore Road is gone now. We've had a rain on snow event, which kind of concerns me. What's the continued erosion of the South Shore Road? And that would be good, an update on that too. Thank you.
Ed, Julia, you've got 2 minutes for comment.
Good morning. I'm calling from East Jefferson County, since so many are from the west side. And I'm basically amplifying what Maggie said about both showers and laundry, but laundry is impacting the Winter Welcoming Center. We are the only place offering laundry vouchers. We are paying for them out of our minuscule budget. And I'm just begging that you refund the health department to start offering their laundry vouchers again. That's it. Have a good day. Good luck with all these decisions.
Julia. Thanks, Julia. Tom Tiersch.
Good morning, commissioners. Keep it brief. Just a quick comment on consent agenda number 1 regarding the formation of the Public Facilities District. The cover letter, the transmittal letter for what's on the agenda, mentions the fact that the fiscal impact will be the 0.2% sales tax, but of course it doesn't mention some of the other powers of the PFD, which include raising property taxes, lodging taxes, and probably most worrying to me is the fact that a PFD can incur councilmatic debt. And based on the county's current valuation of nearly $10 billion, that's $49 million worth of councilmatic debt that the PFD could issue. That should be worrying, considering the limited sources of revenue until they get people to approve the property taxes that a PFD would have. So that's a concern. Also on the agenda that's posted, there is only one additional attachment, attachment F. I assume that by the time that the hearing is held, that all of the attachments to which the ordinance refers will in fact be included for review. The last thing is in the ordinance itself, it mentions that the PFD must do this and the PFD must do that. Well, the PFD is an independent municipal corporation, and it is only really answerable to the laws of the state of Washington. So, the county can only control what the PFD does through what's in the ILA, and after that, it's pretty much free to act. That is, unless you appoint a whole new board. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Phil. I think, and the last person who I have recorded to do public comment is Linda Peterson. You'll need to unmute Linda, and then you'll have 2 minutes for comment. Linda, are you wanting to make public comment?
Yeah, I've asked her to unmute.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. You have 2 minutes for comment.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to make comments today, and I'm going to be addressing the situation on the Upper Hoe Road. My husband and I, in combination with Gary Peterson and his wife Charlotte, we own the Hoe Valley Cabins. This has been a quite successful small enterprise for us in the Hoe Valley, and we're grateful for that. We are in the process of accepting many reservations for the upcoming year. When they heard that the road is closed, we have received many, many cancellations because by far, most of our people book and reserve with us for a couple of reasons. One, we live within the environmental area of the whole rainforest, but most of all, they want to actually go to the whole rainforest area of the park. at the end of the road. When they hear that that is not accessible because of a road washout, they cancel. This is already having an economic strain on our business. We own the business that employs 2 families full-time. It also impacts 3 families on a partial basis. This road situation is really causing what may be seen as a small problem regionally, but locally, it's a large problem. And we do respectfully ask that the temporary fix that has been discussed would be seriously pursued, and pursued sooner than later, because the longer it goes undone, the longer all the businesses regionally, locally are impacted. And these businesses provide taxes, employment, opportunity for recreation and enjoyment. And
Thank you. That's 2 minutes.
okay, thank you. I will sum it up by saying, thanks for attending to this issue, and we do ask that it be attended to sooner than later with a temporary fix. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And sir, did you want to make public comment now?
Gonna have to, you know.
Okay. You've waited so patiently. And strategically.
You ready for this?
Yeah, you got 2
Good,
minutes.
good morning, everybody. My name's William Kennewick. I've been a resident of this wonderful county for 40 years now. And boy, have we seen some changes, huh? I, like everyone else here, we have a wonderful history. And personal, and the people I've met here has been fantastic, just amazing. And we're just so blessed to be here. I want to say that. I want to talk about skydiving real quick. One of my instructors, he would always say, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. All right, and you have to do that when you're going 120 miles an hour, you know, in a big group of people. So I want to be part of the solution. Right now, from what I've heard today, I want to fix the whole river road. Oh my gosh, what can we do to do that, you know? And I came here to complain about taxes, but it sounds like everybody else needs more tax money from me, so. We do what we can, but yeah, this was my first meeting, so I am a volunteer. I've met you, I was a victim, search and rescue. Yeah, so I work for the local search and rescue. Nowadays, I have to look for people my age, which is a little concerning. Yesterday, we were on Mount Walker. I volunteer.
Oh, you up there?
Yeah, I volunteer with the Kitsap Branch of the Mountaineers. Yeah, you know, so I would counted 1 year, counted my hours, 577 volunteer hours. That's 2.5 months of work at zero for wages and stuff. I have a fixed income. That means, yeah, I'm here because I can't keep up with the increases in this county. So that was my complaint, but I want to get back to how do we fix the whole river road? I like those arguments everybody made, and sure like to be able to help out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's the end of my list. And we do have a couple of timed items, but we should do some response, and I defer to my seatmates.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I can start. Appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to come in or make online comments. Appreciate them all. Let's see, maybe I'll group them and try to be a little short since we're 15 minutes past, but I want to honor all the comments. To the Upper Hoe Road, you know, we are trying to do everything we can, obviously. Heidi's kind of been our lead working with the legislative team, and it is simply the full repairs are beyond our capacity to do it. And I made the inartful comment to Anna about the amount of road tax that comes from the Upper Hill Road.
everyone is important and we recognize that, you know, like Lissy and Pat and others talked about that the economic impacts of this closure are vast and impact Clallam County too. Their board meets at the same time if you guys want to go talk to them. But it's really a national park access issue. And we do need to talk more to the national park about what their priorities are. Do they even have? I mean, they're struggling as well. So I don't know what their goals are in this, but a temporary solution, which still costs significant to rent the lights for one lane road. Maybe that will be okay for a while unless it washes out more. Is the national park actually ready to open, or is this? I mean, I guess we've got to, I think, and it's on my list of things to do is to really get a workshop going with Sula and Olympic National Parks out here. If we put up the, and I don't know how much it costs, but it's significant, it'll be at least $10,000, $20,000 to put up a alternating road. Does that remove the emergency element that we have tried so hard to push? I mean, and I think we'll hear from Heidi a little bit about that, but we are close on the state side to being able to declare, attach these two tragedies at South Shore Road and Upper Ho Road to the bomb cyclone of earlier last fall. With that access, we can do the fundamental repair that is $600,000 on the Upper Ho Road thereabouts and $600,000 on the South Shore Road, both of which are priorities. So I guess when I talked to Anna last week, I did talk to Public Works. They were not at all in favor of a temporary solution. We are getting close, I think, to understanding what the timeline is for a permanent solution. And I don't want to torpedo that by working on a temporary one, but if it doesn't, I mean, I don't mind continuing to have the conversations, and I think we really need to bring the national park into the conversation more. It's a challenge, we want to get it fixed, and obviously we're drawn in many directions, right? But I'm pretty set upon having a path by April 15th, which is, the end of the registration for backcountry permits and everything, and to make sure that the tourist industry, I went to an optic meeting, Olympic Peninsula Tourism Commission, and have established communication with some of the Petersons, and happy to continue that conversation. I'm not sure if a week or two of short-term solution might stymie a longer-term solution. I guess I'm curious others' thoughts on that, but we continue to work on it. Public Works, I know that Eric Kuzma spends hours and hours every week trying to braid together the funds to do the repair of the road. It's a really challenging situation, and it's a tough one to crack.
And I could just add, from my conversations last week, I did speak with Representative Birnbaum, who's on the Transportation Committee at the state. And he has expressed some frustration that one issue is that there's been a complete change of leadership at both the state and federal levels. And so the pathways that we used to have for getting emergency response funds quickly deployed to an emergency are not there anymore. So it's kind of like rebuilding all those pathways to get the communication going between the right people, which, as we've heard this morning, is frustrating in public processes. But we've felt optimistic that there are some sources of funding that have been used before, that if we can figure out how to get the right people talking to the right people, they may be available to do these permanent fixes. We're not there yet in terms of the right people talking to the right people. And it's incredibly frustrating. And the other thing that I would add on that is that our public works staff have been working double time on this issue. And Eric Kuzma, who's our assistant public works director, has been speaking to WashDOT and the federal funding, the federal highway emergency repair people. And it just seems like the complete change of leadership at the state and federal levels have caused a real slowdown. And then on top of that is I'm hearing there are layoffs happening in Olympic National Park. So we don't even know what visitor centers are going to be open this summer. And that's not the county. I mean, you can come talk to us, but that's not our decision. And we value, and the road is our road, and we own that, and we're working to get the funding to fix the road. But the other issues at the state and federal level, I mean, they're not our issues. They're not our teams of people that we're used to working with. So we're trying to rebuild the relationships from the ground up and making progress, but you know how long those things take. So it's taking more time than any of us want.
You agree, though, that bringing national parks more to the table?
Yes,
Yes.
because then we'll know real time what they're thinking.
And we tried to do that
Mhm.
and we need to try again.
Yeah.
There was not
They
a lot,
didn't.
not a lot. of
I
response.
thought I was gonna have FaceTime at the optic meeting with Sue as well.
We had that one meeting with the big team at the very beginning in the first week of the road failures.
Yeah.
And
Understanding they're in a level of chaos and not knowing what's going on. Can I just add, if we go by topic
Mhm.
here, in the interest of time, how to be concise. I mean, all of this to me continues to point to the fact that we can't rely on what's happening at the state and federal level for our short-term solutions. And what I think some of the things that have been the most impactful about all of your comments around the road to me is looking at the value of our residents and their livelihoods and their histories and their connection to our community as a whole value. And not just, I fully understand the argument that comes from Public Works around the actual dollar, the math, right? The property tax that comes from businesses and homes there is just not enough to make this repair or even maintain the roads there, but that's not the whole math. That's not the whole calculation. And I think we need to look seriously at this temporary fix. I mean, if we're looking at the difference between $34,000 to put into stop signs versus saving businesses and people's livelihoods, we need to look seriously at that. And I'm not saying that's the exact comparison, that we should do one and not the other. But this is really compelling. And the arguments that I've heard too is that I love this. I've heard this from people who've talked to me individually, and thank you so much for all the calls. That we're used to this. We're used to temporary fixes. We're used to rolling up our sleeves. We're not looking for a perfect solution. We need to hobble through this. And I think some of the thing we need to dig into is, why is this temporary solution considered a deterrent to the permanent? And I understand the logic of it, but if we advocate at the state level and the federal level, wherever we're looking for those dollars, to say, listen, we're putting in this temporary solution because it's needed and it should not be a deterrent to the permanent. And that's going to take us advocating at that level. There's a whole lot more to be said here. I cannot tell you all enough how important it is that you are showing up. And the people online, I'm new to this. I'll be saying that for a long, long time, I know, but it makes a difference. And I recognize how hard it is for you to show up here. It was really hard for me to show up here when it wasn't my job. But you got to keep doing it. And thank you for those who are representing those who can't show up.
Okay, we're screaming up on our second timed item.
We are.
All right, okay, so there's a lot to respond.
And there's a lot to respond to, so.
You wanna, I mean, I guess one, just to respond to Heather's comment, I'm happy to talk about temporary options. We should, engage first the national park to see if a temporary solution's in, does that mean that they're opening the park? Because I don't think that's foregone conclusion.
Absolutely.
And, I guess hear from public.
So you're
Works.
gonna reach out to Sula.
I'll reach out to Sula today.
Greg, can I also say that I'm really seeing here, and since I've been here, a lot of these big issues happen to be happening in your district right now, and that's not your fault. But I am trying to find ways that I can plug in and add value, and I want to step into one of these. I have permitting background. I may be able to step in there, but if we could have a conversation outside of this about ways that I can take some of this off your plate, I'm very willing.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I think we all serve the whole county, so I don't think that there's any
It's
reason.
not about the district per se, it's about capacity, and I have some capacity because I'm new. So I wanted to add that.
Love
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see, so I guess that's Upper Ho and South Shore Road, and to Ed's point too, yeah, we just have to really engage more with national parks and see what their intentions and what their capacity is too. You know, we've heard also about, you know, the National Park and National Forest Service wildland firefighters laid off and not renewed for this year. So there's real staffing issues, as you say, that are going on in our beloved public lands, and we want to make sure that we're talking to the right people as we work through these problems.
Yeah, the probationary employee thing at the federal level is affecting Olympic National Park.
Yeah, it is.
There have been layoffs this week of
Yes.
people who are hired on a probational status because of the president's directive.
Yeah, what's happening at the federal level is directly affecting our ability to do business, and it's very, very challenging.
Let's see, to Joe, easy to support the floodplain work. We'll get to that in a second. We're late for that already, but I'm excited to have that conversation with Tammy, who's already here. About the NPR, I'm sorry it has gone sideways again. I thought we were on a path towards working through this. We're very motivated to. John, it's great to see you up and around. I'm really glad to see you. So yeah, Ryan actually looked a little worse limping up here to the podium,
Hiking is.
and you know, we'll talk about this more. It's hard, like,
Yeah, it's a big one.
the letters, back and forth, a lot of them, just hit my desk this morning, the vote of no confidence. Yeah, I'm not prepared to give a robust answer, but we are, as always, you know, motivated to move this forward. And I hear your pain and the board's frustration, and I'm sure we'll be having long conversations about that, and hopefully something good will come out of those negotiations. And then, let's see, I mean, to all the Petersons, I appreciate you commenting, and to William, it's good to see you here, and I think you might have passed me on that walker, that's probably why you didn't see me.
And thank you for the email.
Yeah. And then, let's see, I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, to the showers and laundry
Yeah.
tokens, you know, again, you know, we wish we could fund everything, right? And that's, I mean, we've already extended those harm reduction funds into providing laundry tokens, and we can talk about other funding sources for those, but you know, I'm glad the services are being used, and do what we can about capacity there as elsewhere. And then to Mr. Tiersch, all the attachments for the listed were attached last week for the workshop, I thought, and they will be, of course, at
Yeah, we'll
a
check that.
hearing, and I'm actually gonna suggest we maybe kick that hearing a little farther down the line. So if we don't get consent done before 9:30, I think that's okay, because just in response to previous public comments, it seems like having that PFD hearing after the conclusion of the survey would
Thank
be
you, Greg.
worthwhile. you know?
Yes, I think it would. It would be a huge.
So that kind of takes the pressure off getting consent agenda done.
Okay, well, I was just gonna interject that I would need it done soon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
will send a note to Ariel.
But we'll take a look at his other notes too about the ordinance, and I know he sent some substantive public comment about tax concerns and.
So
the
did Mr.
concern,
Grant. We're digging into it.
yeah, but I think I will leave it there out of the interest of time, but thank you, everyone. Oh, and big fan of Discover Your Northwest, Kirk. Good to have you here. I appreciate you taking time to come and make comment.
I don't know if there's any, I don't think I have anything else to add except to Mr. Kennewick. I feel like that what we have to do right now, not only look at efficiencies in government, that's always something we need to be looking at, but your comment is not only incredibly selfless and moving. But I think it also is really compassionate for our staff who are working so hard. And I think I maybe said this once before, but there's this moment where actually we talked about our public works staff being offered a training on how to sort of de-escalate negative comments from the public and find a way to do their work and to move forward in an atmosphere of attack. And I just felt that was so, yeah, absolutely, let's do that. Let's learn those skills. And at the same time, the recognition that you gave at the podium around, I came here to say, I need to pay less. At least I need to not pay more. And at the same time, we're seeing all these really, really important, impactful decisions that need to be made, important projects that need to move forward that cost money, and that our government is saying we need to cover this. This is part of what the government's responsibility is. And that is a real puzzle. And that is why it is so important that you are all here. Because we cannot, it just doesn't make sense for 3 people to make these decisions on their own, right? It doesn't. We try to do our best to listen to you and to represent you to the best of our ability. But you must be here sometimes, and you must be here representing many, many, many of your neighbors. So please do what you can, and thank you. We'll try to make it more accessible and come out to you. I think we're all working on ways to do that, and you'll see more of that in 2025, of your government coming out to you. And we will work on that. It comes from both directions. And at some point, very, very smart, compassionate, thoughtful people, the community that we live in, thank you for starting with gratitude for where we live. I hear both of our commissioners talking about that constantly. It's a good reminder. We have to start there, and we have to solve these things together. So thank you for being here. So.
Do you have anything to add?
What?
We're just planning.
No, I'm not gonna add anything else, because I don't feel like I need to. I felt like you guys represented the issues well. We are way behind on our schedule today. It's my job to try and keep the train on the track. The train is fully off the track right now.
Thank you for letting it go off.
And I wanna just reinforce what Heather said, we need to hear from you. And know that on issues like the Hoe Road and the South Shore Road, I've been working on those a lot with our legislative delegation and our federal delegation, and it's been incredibly frustrating. And yes, we get frustrated too.
Yeah.
And I have been incredibly frustrated the last couple of weeks on those issues. So we're gonna keep turning over every stone and work with our staff to find solutions. And hearing from you really reinforces our motivation to do that work. So
Thank you.
thank you for being here. And I've lived here 40 years as well. And I hear you. Things have changed significantly. And I'm hoping that I can stay here and die here. But I'm not sure that's going to be an option for me as well. So I appreciate you being here this morning and reminding me that I need to keep my eye on the horizon.
Thank you.
I'm going to close public comment. We're going to go to our workshop with Tammy to talk about the Dosey Wallops River, if people want to stay and hear that. And then we're gonna have a public works work plan session with our public works staff after that. I'll let him know. He's out in the hall. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Only if you want. Yeah, you can.
You stay for this?
What was that?
Oh, much better.
Good to stand. I'm gonna do it too.
Yeah.
Okay, this is exciting. Should I go? This is exciting to hear about what's going on with the Dozy Wallops River.
It's a good project.
And to see you, Tammy.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Tammy Poponi, Natural Resources Program Coordinator for the county, and I work at Public Health. And I'm here today to solicit your input on a grant to the Flood Control Assistance Account program at the Department of Ecology. This is an opportunity that comes around fairly frequently, but we haven't, that I know, taken advantage of it for quite some time. The purpose of the account program is to write, amend, or implement comprehensive flood hazard management plans.
Yeah.
And we have one for the Dozy Wallops and the Duck Bush. It's one document, and it was produced in 2009. And a lot of it is still pending implementation. And so we could go ahead to the next slide. And so we health and in partnership with DCD and hopefully state parks and the other folks that Joe Beisch mentioned, Shellfish and other interested parties, and of course the tribes. This would be an opportunity to bring everyone together and with a community focused process to move the needle on the flood risk, ideally both in Brennan and the Lazy Sea and the state park property as well. The Salmon World and the funding directed towards habitat restoration has brought forward a lot of terrific baseline information that everybody can use. And so we're just hoping to leverage that for the needs of the community to address the flood needs with a bit of mindfulness towards fish habitat needs also. Next slide. And probably you've seen these before, but there hasn't been a 100-year flood since folks were keeping records on the Dozy Wallops, and there's a berm that was constructed over the years, most recently in conjunction with the relatively new bridge span over the Dozy Wallops for Highway 101, and that was in 2000. But there's the possibility still of a large flood, and the berm that protects the core of downtown Brennan really wasn't designed as flood protection. It's more of an erosion control facility. And there's going to be more information that we're bringing forward to the community at our next Dozy Wallops River project meeting, Dozy Wallops River Collaborative meeting in early March. But I'm safe to say that the berm wasn't designed for flood protection. And there are other interesting issues as well. I think that the purpose of, go to the next slide, of the funding that we would hopefully receive from FCAP would be to bring everybody in the community onto the same page. There's been a tremendous amount of outreach to the Brennan Lazy Sea community, and that's been successful in such large measure to Shelley and Andrew, Shelley Arnell and Andrew Schwartz and Joe Beisch and more recently Jean, and we met John and folks who attend the South County Task Force meetings, and we also convened health brought forward SJC to host 2 meetings because we definitely have heard from the community that they would like to be brought on board with new grant applications in Brennan. So this is just a picture of the front cover of the flood hazard management plan, which is available online if you Google it from the Dozy Wallops River Project website. And then next one. So on the left-hand column, it shows the eligible work through this grant opportunity. In the middle column are the alternatives that the flood plan brings forward. And then on the right-hand side, this is some of the community input that we heard. So there certainly are lots of overlaps here. And I think justification for moving forward if we are successful with the grant, which all comes down to whether or not we can provide the required match. Unfortunately, we're required to provide 25%. And so next page, and we could go back if you want to talk about this. I didn't want to take too much time, but so here's a proposed sequence. There's nothing that we're applying for in terms of specific projects. The funding would be used for a process that would start there was a request at one of the meetings for an outreach plan, so we would start with that. With bringing a consultant or at least a facilitator on board, we'd go through an alternatives analysis, like what do folks want to do once they have an appreciation for the relative flood risk, which the salmon project that we currently have underway in Brennan will bring forward as part of evaluating what's possible in terms of salmon habitat restoration. We need to look at flood risk, so this process can look at that same analysis that will already exist and think, well, what does the community want to do about the risk that exists? I mean, no action is possible, but I don't think that is likely once folks have a handle on the analysis. Then it would be wonderful to have a visualization exercise, so folks could all kind of use graphics, maybe even enlist a landscape architect. This is often done for big projects or potentially big projects.
I can see it already.
Yeah, thanks. And then everyone would pick a preferred alternative, make sure that it's actually feasible before working towards an actual, it would be a conceptual design is the first phase in the design process where you create, say folks want to improve the berm or elevate the berm. So you'd have a idea phase design, and then that would lead to future funding for preliminary final design and actual construction. And so then there would be also an action plan. So that's basically the idea. There's no actual project in mind. That would be all up to everyone involved in the process. And the most we can, maximum award would be $500,000. However, that's very unlikely. More likely would be to be successful with a $250,000 award, which would require the $62,500 in the matching contribution. So health is needing to have assurance of match prior to the application itself being submitted. So that the deadline for that is February 27th.
Can I ask one question on that?
Yeah.
Real quick? So you'd apply for the whole thing. You're saying it's more likely that they would give you the smaller amount, the 250 with the 62 match.
And it's bold to perhaps to come forward and say, well, we could get 500,000.
Right.
Ecology said it's possible that we would have
But-
500,000. Well, given bold, only say bold because it's a lot of money and I know there are tremendous demands for the general fund. But if we were awarded the $500,000, we can have a more robust effort and extend it hopefully to the lazy sea, if that's what the community would want. We could do meaningful design and planning work for both areas.
My question is just real, it's the same grant application regardless. You
Yeah.
want to know if if we can find that 125 matching potentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tammy, so general fund is the only identified source of funding for those match dollars.
It's possible, but that we could use $30,000 in kind up to that amount from our existing salmon grant, but ecology requires that the work is done during the performance period, which is July 1st of this year through end of June 2027. So things are moving along and I think our consultant wants to be able to do the work when it makes sense on the salmon side versus fits and starts, but it's possible we could at least maybe get through 2025, the in-kind match.
Can it be privately sourced?
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
We were not gonna do back and forth.
Oh, sorry.
It's just, sorry, but
So if we go to the next page, this is the a vision of the budget, which would most certainly be renegotiated at least to a degree. It's very unlikely, like I said, that we receive $500,000, but at any rate, looking at past grants and thinking about the time investment from health and DCD with the idea being to push through the barriers that the community has faced or be able to investigate at a deep level and bring in all of the related considerations into any proposed preferred alternative.
Tammy,
Staff time, would that count as match?
No, that would be paid for out of the total. It could be, yes.
Considered in-kind
Yeah.
match.
It
But
could-
then you couldn't pay it out of the grant as well.
Right.
While we have you, I would like to know the answer to the question of whether the match could be privately sourced. Do you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
Is that a possibility?
Privately sourced, what do you mean?
Can it be donated by a business or community? Is that possible in grant and government grant applications?
We can take donations from people inclined to make them. And we could apply it to whatever, I mean, they could attach a condition to it. But if staff time counts as match, then we don't need general fund, we've got.
It doesn't though, because it's being paid for out of the grant,
Right.
at least as this budget is presented.
Okay, we pay those people whether they work on this grant or not, so I think we need to delve into that a little bit.
Okay, it's worth delving into.
Feels
for
like
sure.
a little bit of more clarity on the budget would be good.
Yeah,
However, she needs approval to submit the application.
Right.
So it would be good if you would, here today, commit to funding the match with general fund money in the event that staff time won't suffice.
we don't want to cut you off in the middle of your presentation.
No,
Keep
that's
going.
a great question that,
It's a good question.
my position's mostly grant funded, so it may be a different situation in health versus community development, but.
Yeah. Yeah. Double apply grants for sure, yeah.
The basic message here is just that the bulk of the funding would be for the information that the community would desire. And there's a list of possibilities that I came up with, but there could be others. But the grant right now, it's written very generally, and I think ecology is well aware, I'm very much in communication with Matt Gerlach up there and also Ayla, the grant manager, and this sort of scenario is a good fit for the grant source. We don't have to be super specific.
Right, and the county match would span 2 different years, most likely.
Yeah, I would imagine the bulk of the effort would be in 2026. So, yeah, it would be best if it could be across all 3 years, but. And then,
That's it.
oh, that's it, that's right, that's it.
Can you go back to the slide that outlined the two there, that one? Okay. So what you really need is authorization for up to $125,000 in match contribution from the county general fund.
And then health finance will be satisfied that it's responsible to request the full amount, and then we'll say upfront that we're requesting the full amount. However, if less funding is available, we would scale our project to meet that funding level. With the help of the community.
Do you have a recommendation, Mark? You have a?
I would ask that you support that.
I mean, this is a project that the community of Brennan has been asking for and highly advocating for. Just comes at a time when we're blasted with what everything else that needs to be paid for.
It would be good at some point to have a workshop of like the universe of funding requests or funding needs. Because I feel like when we get them scattershot like this, then we don't have a good holistic sense of what the total funding demand is on the county general fund.
I also am just, before becoming elected, reading things in the newspaper and going like, really, we're gonna spend this much money on studies again is such a frustrating perspective from the public. And at the same time, I mean, I've been a project owner. I know with my experience that market studies, geotechnical studies, all of the things that we do to prepare for projects are absolutely required by our regulatory system. And so we have to do these things to move forward on projects that we care about and that we want for our community. It does make me want to workshop, how much do we spend on these studies, and would it be less expensive to hire someone who does 4 of these studies for us a year? on various different projects, but that's another question. Maybe for tomorrow.
Right, not.
Well, how are you guys feeling about the request that's before us today?
I feel like this has been asked for by the Brennan community for a long time, that the work's been done by the department to move forward, and that if we can approve it today and potentially look for ways to alleviate this from the general fund, or at least alleviate some of it from the general fund, we would still have the opportunity to do that.
I would be happy to entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the grant application request and earmark a matching contribution of up to $120,000 from the general fund as a
If
match.
necessary.
If necessary, as a match.
I will second that.
Any more thoughts before we vote?
This is, lots of work and.
Thank you.
Moving it forward.
I have a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Closed captioning said 120,000, you said 125,000.
Yeah, we said 125.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Can't capture it. Aye.
Aye. None opposed, none abstaining, that passes unanimously. Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we are gonna move on to our Public Works 2025 work plan. I see both Monty and Eric are in the room with us. You wanna come up, you guys? Miss Lively comments?
Or it's in your P public, what's easier for you.
Yeah, glad you were here, John. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, Ryan.
It's not in my.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
For the whole meeting.
Probably gonna go sit in one of our offices and work away.
Yeah.
She got chewed out this morning for coming in without checking in across the hall. Sorry, we're behind this morning. We had lively comments this morning, but many of them about the Ho Road from residents of the West End. I'd say most of the comments. Yeah. There we go. And there we are.
Well, we'll see if we can get through all this. We have a lot in our department that we do, so there's a lot to cover. And we're running behind time, and I have a thing I have to get to at 11:30, so we'll go back one just real quick to the opening slide there. So that's I've used that background in a lot of PowerPoints over the years. That's the whole rainforest, and I realized, well, you can't get to it now, so I added the little road closed barricade there. Anyway, next slide. Public Works is made up of these divisions: solid waste, Hadlock Sewer, Parks and Recreation, County Roads, Fleet, new in midway through 2024. Our financial division, you can see the budgets for 25 for each of those divisions and the approximate full-time equivalent staff for each of those divisions. The financial division costs and staff are included in the numbers above there. 40 million, 78 employees. Of course, a big chunk of that is Port Hadlock Sewer, which is under construction, which is not something we do every year. But it's overall a $35 million project. So over the 3 years, we're spending a lot of money, grant money.
And that $14.5 million with County Roads is a lot of grant.
That's a lot of grant funding too, and probably some of those projects might not get built this summer. We obviously just opened bids for the Olympic Discovery Trail, which is a $4 million project. Of course, there's our regular road maintenance component in there. Runs about $6 million for operations and maintenance, and a few other grant funded projects, Lord's Lake Road repair, etc. We can get into that later. Next slide. That's the org chart for Public Works. I think just if you want to do stuff that requires people, I think sometimes that's forgotten. It's like, well, let's do this. It's like, well, who's going to do it? We weren't sitting around with nothing to do already. So, I mean, it does require people to do work. And that's what the organization chart looks like between all those divisions you just saw. Next. Of course, finding people to work has become very challenging. We've been advertising for like an engineer project manager position for 2 years with no qualified applicants. Cities advertising same positions at higher rates. They're not really getting anyone. You saw the article on the city's wages. The county doesn't pay like that, so that's the competition. We're the second oldest median age county in the country. And our median home price is $650,000, which is currently the 5th highest in Washington State, although it's ranged from the 3rd to the 5th. There's a few that hover around that, so it's not exactly an employer's market, which is depressing when you're trying to run a department. Where does a truck driver making $25 an hour when a house costs $650,000? Next slide. So jumping right in, there was a slide in between, but it just said solid waste, just jumping right into the
That's like just garbage anyway.
into the programs. Next slide. Important to remember that solid waste, in many counties, the county has nothing to do with it. These are mostly for-profit companies running solid waste programs throughout the country. We have in this county and several around us, we have a key role in that we run a nonprofit transfer station, but that operation is entirely funded by fees. There is zero tax support for solid waste. So when people say I pay taxes, so I should get this in solid waste, it doesn't have anything to do with solid waste. It's a business. We don't do garbage collection. We do run the transfer station. We don't haul the waste to the landfill. We don't run the landfill. We don't collect recycling. We don't process recycling. We do use some money out of the tipping fee to do some moderate risk waste collection events, 4 per year, which have been pretty successful. And we have to monitor our closed landfill off Jacob Miller Road and do testing and reporting every year. And we're trying to get the Department of Ecology to actually declare that to be done and closed. But that's a lengthy process that we're kind of forging new terrain on.
Monty, when you say those events have been successful, what do you mean by that?
We're collecting more moderate risk waste now than we were when we had a fixed facility at the port.
Okay.
They're highly attended, well attended. We bring in a contractor who sets up their system there, their truck, and we help. We arrange for the site, and we do provide some staffing for traffic control. And then people can bring things to these events, and they're hauled off and processed. It's about $25,000 per event
That it costs us. And we don't make any revenue. They're not revenue making events.
No,
So you don't mean
free.
they're successful as an enterprise. They're successful at disposing of waste.
Yes, and popular that way, yes.
Thank you.
Their household hazardous waste is free. Between the events, you can, we've arranged interlocal agreement with Kitsap County's household hazardous waste facility, and people can go there. We pay Kitsap County for our customers that go there, just like it would cost us if we had a facility here. But it's nice that we can partner with Kitsap County on that service. People go to Kitsap County to do lots of other things like shop. They can also go there to dispose of household hazardous waste. Next slide. Issues, the transfer station is past its useful life and many components are failing. The roof scales are rusted out. The grizzly keeps failing, which is the loader that packs the trash into the trucks. The drainage system's shot, tarping rack system doesn't work very well. The pavement's cracked, the recycling buildings get pretty decrepit. So this year, we need to put something into the tipping fee that's a set aside for some of these capital projects, so we'll be working on that. $10 a ton on the capital fee would support over $2 million in bonding for capital projects, for instance. Of course, we have to adjust the tipping fee to keep pace with inflation, our long haul contract and the other costs that keep going up. Our recycling contract ends next April 26th, so we have to be looking at that. Currently, recycling is paid for by $650,000 coming out of the tipping fee per year to pay for that service. Some of us believe recycling should pay for itself and not be a buried hidden subsidy. So that's a discussion. Try to maintain staffing levels. We have a great crew currently, but there's a year ago, we could barely keep the place open. We couldn't find people to work there. And then, of course, there's many people still upset that glass can't be recycled, even though it's only 2% of our waste stream. That can't be a distraction from us getting the other 98% of the waste handled. There's one person to work on all these things.
Who's that person?
Al Cairns.
Okay, yeah.
That's not sustainable. Next slide.
Oh, do you want me to pause here?
Port Hadlock Sewer, big project didn't exist really in our department 6 years ago. Next slide. It's the largest, most complicated project the county's ever done, most expensive. And it's not just a matter of building a wastewater treatment plant and some pipes in the street. We're also connecting the businesses. So each property is a project in and of itself. We have 3. Now we added an administrative engineer to help with a lot of the paperwork. So we have 4 people now working on this project. We're supposed to start this facility up in mid-25 with working with the PUD, who I know they're advertising and interviewing wastewater treatment plant operators, which until there is one, it's gonna be a little hard to start it up, and actually you need more than one because you have to have backup. It's all spelled out in the Department of Ecology permit. But plan is to start the system up in mid-25. There's a ton of work to do between now and July 25. Got to continue to design and construction for more connection stages if our EPA money doesn't disappear. And transition to PUD operations. Like I said, it's a ton of work for 4 people. We're really lucky to have them. It took us over 2 years of advertising to get those people in place to work on this project. And before that, it was just me and Bob Wheeler.
Monty, are you hearing that this money might be threatened to be clawed back?
Well, I mean, does anyone know?
I'm just wondering, I'm wondering if you've specifically heard.
We haven't specifically heard about this grant yet, but I know on Friday, a bunch of EPA people were fired.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Monday looks like. It's only 10:30.
Right.
So.
Thank you for highlighting.
Next slide. Kind of a relatively current aerial photo of the wastewater treatment plant.
Wow.
Site. There's a building for a couple offices on the upper left, and the building below it there is filled with high-tech equipment that runs the treatment plant, as well as storage for chemicals and things like that. And then under that roof to the right is where the actual equipment that the membrane bioreactor is located under there.
I love that it has a roof over it. Yeah.
There'll be a crane under that roof to pull membranes and they need to be cleaned and maintained, like gantry crane, which is one of the reasons it's so tall, is you have to be able to pull those things up and out and then slide over and put them down onto the floor next to the equipment. Otherwise, that roof would be a lot lower. You're looking at $11 million right there.
Yeah.
Next slide. Parks and Recreation, part of our department. Just some stats, 22 parks, several of which are located inside the city of Port Townsend, 3 campgrounds, 1,100 acres, 15 miles of trail, lots of buildings, shelters, septic systems, playgrounds, parking lots, athletic fields with irrigation that need to be striped for sporting events, sports courts like those basketball courts you see there or out in front of the courthouse, that those just got resurfaced with a grant that Matt Tyler, the parks manager, got. That's 20 grand. If they look nice, don't they? There's about 4 people in parks to do all this work. And that's up from 1 that we had in 2008, but down from the 6 we had in 2005. But parks usage has doubled. By all the metrics that we have to measure that. Also, we run a recreation program throughout the county, 1,600 participants in the various rec programs each year. That was just Chris Macklin and some volunteers. He does a fantastic job leveraging coaches and things throughout our community. We did add a part-time person, Samantha, not our sewer person, Samantha, a different Samantha, who's working with Chris now. And there's also a part-time person to help staff the rec center, which is in Port Townsend, the drop-in rec center. So it works out to about 1.8 FTEs, full-time equivalent people to run that what I would consider highly successful recreation program. I think the people who participated in it feel like it's highly successful. I mean, we had 300 and some people in the basketball league this winter. We used every gym in the county to run that. Chris is an amazing guy to do so much with so little.
I just want to highlight too that I think it was something around $240,000 in value that those volunteers bring in kind work. That is money that doesn't come out of our general fund to get this work done.
2.5 FTEs worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also have volunteers maintaining some of our parks like Irondale Beach Park, mowing, removing trash, things like that. Without volunteers, program would look, a lot different. Next slide. So in 2025 and 6, we have the phase 2 jump project underway, which Matt Tyler and with a lot of help from Eric Kuzma here, the assistant public works director, put together with grants. It's under construction right now. Some new additional play equipment for very small children, as well as shade structures, as well as putting a lighter coating on the orca structures because the black was getting too hot. So now we're gonna have gray and white orcas. That's being done by a local person out of the Shipwrights Co-op, which is kind of awesome to have local people, because that was to fix something like that. They're fiberglass, like boats. So between the shade tarps and the new color, we shouldn't have that problem anymore. It's surprising a company would build things black and not tell you about the problem with heat. Apparently, they didn't want to stand behind their product, so and removing them was not really feasible. So we found a different way to deal with that.
Great.
Matt got a very healthy, about $400,000 grant for Memorial Field to replace the fence, scoreboard, and goalposts. That he'll have to do. There's the Quilcene Skate Park, which is Matt coordinated with that group and the YMCA, but the we just didn't have the capacity to do that project, so that, the money's not running through the county. And Greg, Commissioner Brotherton's very familiar with this project. The volunteer group got the grant with county support, and they're managing this project. And I believe the Y is the nonprofit overarching.
Such
on
a
that.
great solution.
We inherited a new project this year. The caretaker who lived in that house at Gibbs Lake moved out after living there for decades, and the plan was to move a new caretaker in, but we found out the house is full of rot.
Oh, no.
So now it's a save it or remove it kind of question. It's gonna be expensive any way you cut it. If it's removed, this could become publicly accessible lake access area, which we're woefully short on out there, and we could establish a caretaker location for like a fifth wheel trailer like we have at H.J. Carroll Park on the property by the garage. So more to come on that, but again, there's only one person to work on all this, Matt Tyler. We don't have a facilities project manager. Facilities doesn't have staff to do this kind of work. Really not sustainable. Next slide. The county roads program. I like to call it the incredible shrinking department. Next slide. So that was a slide I had when we did the budget talk. Showed between 98 and 2022, we've shrunk 18% in our staffing. Next slide. We're still cutting positions this year, like about 5 more positions that we're gonna have to cut, 5.5. Next slide.
How many of those are filled right now?
About half of them. We probably won't have to lay anyone off because there'll be people who will retire and stuff, or we haven't been able to fill them. You can go back to that and go up one slide. So like the engineer position is not filled. Like I said, we tried to find an engineer and no one's applied with qualifications for that in over 2 years. And really that was to do much of the work that Eric as a assistant public works director is having to do to fill the gap. Also, the average age of our engineering group of 4 is 64 years old. So, it'd be nice to get someone in there, but now we just got to cut that open position. And then the transportation planner, we haven't filled that in the last few years. That was when Josh Peters was in that position, he generated $13 million of money in the flat program to work on the Upper Hoe Road. That position could be pretty effective at working with partners to get things done and obtain money, and we won't be able to fill that position any longer. Eric's done a lot of the work to cover the transportation planner's duties, like 6-year TIP and coordinating with WashDOT and things like that, but the money's not there. Our right-of-way person who's part-time will be leaving. And we have to cut a couple positions out of the road crew. We have our main traffic control sign person, well, not our main one, but one of our 3 main people retiring, so we won't be able to fill that position. And we'll lose an operator position, a truck driver, and a laborer position through people, retiring or resigning. And then probably can't have a fleet manager and a road superintendent any longer. Now that fleet's part of public works, we can have a operations manager over both maybe. More discussion on that, but those are the kind of cuts we're looking at to stem the losses, next.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
How did, so why are we suffering, all this, shortfall in our budget? And that goes back, you can trace that back to before the Great Recession. Next slide. So we lost the Secure Rural Schools funding from the federal government in the 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13 era. The orange bars, you can see that declining.
Yeah.
Carolyn, is it possible to get that? I can't see what's in the.
Oh, right,
It's
I'll
a-
remove that transfer.
Yeah. The orange Title I to Fund 180 on the darker kind of reddish. There you go.
At the same time, payment in lieu of taxes, PILT money went up, the yellow bars, but that money was retained in the general fund. For the most part, not used to backfill the loss of the Secure Rural Schools funding. Right then and there was the Great Recession, so understandable that the county was trying to fill a lot of budget gaps, but that's a permanent loss of $900,000 to the road fund. Next slide. Right before that happened, in the years leading up to that, the diversion climbed from 250,000 to 720,000 a year. That's money used to support the sheriff's office for traffic enforcement. Since Mark Colley's been here, that's come back down to 520,000 per year from the 720,000 mark. So that's helpful. But overall, there was a pretty significant shift of money that used to go to the road fund towards the general fund in that time period. And that's why we had the decline in staffing over that time. Next slide. Just so you're aware, also Public Works pays for several positions in the general fund through indirect cost allocation. That's about $261,000 a year. You can see we pay for services from auditor, payroll, HR, treasurer, clerk of the board, prosecuting attorney, county administration. I mean, we use those services, but we're paying for them. No other department does, because all the other departments are funded out of the general fund. But since we have the road fund and the solid waste fund, money is moved from those funds to support these general fund activities. So puts a dent in the money remaining in the road fund. Next slide. And of course, there's our situation, even after adding the transportation benefit district and cutting more positions and things like cutting our road striping program back. We're still on a downhill slide that we have to address, but we've slowed it down. Next slide. That's the restroom facilities for our Port Hadlock road crew. I'd like to do something about that. No one else in the county has something like that as their facility. Next slide. So, you know, in the 25 work plan, you know, the transportation benefit district was completed. I'd like to move the road crew back over into the county shop where there actually are restrooms, but that's going to take some remodeling to fit them in there. There will be retirements in the leadership team out in the road crew that need to be addressed, which isn't easy. We need to replace some of our fleet assets that are getting pretty ancient. And of course, we have all of our regular work. Chip sealing, pavement patching, storm response, signs, vegetation management, drainage, trail maintenance, which we're getting 3.2 more miles of trail this year. And then, you know, there's some other things going on. There's the ODT construction. That's the $4 million grant funded project from Four Corners to Anderson Lake. There's the massive project that the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group and Jamestown Tribe sprung on us down at Linger Longer. That's gonna take staff time, even though we're not building it ourselves. There's the washouts on the Upper Hoe Road and South Shore Quinault Road that are taking, lots of time as we search for funding and permits. Normally, in past years, we'd have jumped all over those and those would be fixed by now, but we'd also had a funding commitment from the federal government, which we don't have now. It doesn't appear like anyone really is doing anything about. I mean, maybe. We applied for federal funding, but seems to be a lot of confusion over there now. Hope to get the Lords Lake Road landslide repair done this summer. That's a FEMA funded project. Still working on replacing the little Wilson River Bridge, which is funded. That's still in design, permitting, and right-of-way phase. That bridge is load posted for certain trucks can't use it on Center Road. We got funded to replace for the design phase of the R Bridge on Center Road, which is also load posted. There's the Gardner Beach Road and Boat Ramp project that the Port of Port Townsend's doing, that we partnered with them on to raise that road a little bit. They're doing the work, but we're providing a bit of funding for it. The road gets inundated at high tide in the winter. Don't know when we're gonna get to the Quilcene Ped and Bike project. We don't have the staff this summer, certainly. There's the path along Rhodey Drive between H.J. Carroll and the school that we hope to build this summer. There was the Raise project for all the planning for future phases of the Olympic Discovery Trail, which we were told we wouldn't have to do anything, and now we're having to do everything. There's the Trout Unlimited fish passage projects on the west end that are in various stages of design and permitting. Not sure when they'll go to construction, but they've been pretty good to work with, at least. So if they are, when they're ready to build, that'll replace a couple of fish barrier culverts on roads out there. And there's additional federal land access projects on the west end, but it's anyone's guess when the federal highways will get to some of those projects. One of them is chip sealing and paving the entire Upper Hoe Road, which is well over $2 million. We applied for that project and got it in 2017. So inflation's taking its toll on that project. They don't have anyone to work on these projects either. They're way over programmed. Next. We also have the Shine Road repair. We've got existing FEMA and FHWER projects. We repaired the Oil City Road in 2016 and we're owed $650,000 by FEMA. And we still can't get it because we're still talking about federal environmental mitigation for the project for putting all that riprap in the river. Those conversations can last decades. And FEMA won't cut loose the money until the conversation's finished, except the conversation is between FEMA and these other federal agencies, and it seems to be completely stalled out. So that's a little hard on the budget when you do that kind of work and don't get reimbursed for it. Jacob Miller South Discovery intersection, four-way stop conversion. I heard there was a comment about how can 2 stop signs cost $34,000. It's because it's not 2 stop signs. It's a lot bigger project than that. It involves street lighting, culverts, lighted stop signs, power for those, etc., replacing the lights, traffic control, thermoplastic stop bars. Materials alone for those thermoplastic stop bars will be, $4 or $5 grand. And just, additional things that we do year round that we're required to do by the state: accident reporting, grant applications, ADA transition plans, Title VI reporting, DBE and apprenticeship requirement reporting. And then there's the Habitat Project, which, we had a lot of meetings and back and forth with the people working on that project, which, takes time. They haven't even applied for a project yet or paid any fees, but we've spent a lot of time working on it.
Sure.
And we're continuing to. Next.
So I'm just noticing that in all of that, there isn't stuff like all of the projects that you noted at the transfer station that need to be done, like there's still a
Yeah, we're
lot of
just talking
decision.
about county roads here. The only person to work on the transfer station is Al Cairns.
Right.
Who doesn't really have project management in his job description. He did replace the scales in the pit. That was a $250,000 project because those scales were shot.
Yeah.
So we don't, facilities work used to be part of public works and we had facility project managers, but it was split off into a different department. So we really just have people do transportation work and facility work. We figure out somehow to get done. I mean, we partially rebuilt our road shop on the Hoe, fully rebuilt our Quilcene road shop. That was all done in-house with a project manager that / architect and is no longer, who retired. We don't have in our department anymore. That position was not refilled. So this is what remains of our department in town. Eric, 4 project managers, 1 person to issue permits, and 1 person to do the traffic tech who does the required accident reviews and record keeping, the pavement marking program and all the reporting, a lot of the reporting that's required by the County Road Administration Board, responds to all the calls for people wanting crosswalks and stop signs and lower speed limits, does speed studies, traffic studies. So it's about 6 people total. And average age of our project management group is 64 years old. Next.
You bring down the average, Eric.
Hey.
I don't think I'm that average.
Oh.
How many more? We have an executive session at 11 o'clock. I'm wondering how many
I
more.
can get through pretty quick. Next slide.
I love that picture. You used that earlier. Yeah.
County fleet was added to Public Works midway through 24, then the fleet manager resigned, not because it was actually, he liked being part of Public Works, but he liked better working in Indiana where he was from, so that's where he went back to. It's added a ton of work to my job. Next slide, that's the cash balance in the fleet program. Next slide. 270 pieces of equipment and vehicles, much of it very complex, all of it computerized. All the sheriff's cars used by all the departments, all the equipment used by solid waste, parks, all the equipment used by roads. We have 3 mechanics and a foreman. You're not born knowing how to work on something like that chip spreader. And you don't learn that doing it once a year. We do send stuff out to other companies to work on. It's very expensive. All this computerized stuff, you have to have, sophisticated diagnostic equipment for. You can't even diagnose CAD equipment. They have to do it for you. The fleet fund, as you saw, went down. That was because of runaway inflation. Which meant customers weren't paying enough for replacements, spending on projects that weren't funded through equipment rents like heating in the shop, overhead not fully captured in equipment rates. These are all things that we discovered when Public Works took over the management of this, and we're like, why? We had to cancel a bunch of equipment and sheriff car orders because we're basically out of money. And stuff hasn't even been auctioned off since 21. It's sitting out there growing moss, and we got to work with our treasurer on that. So there's a ton of work to do there. We have reset the rates to stabilize the fund. I did that. Next.
No auction because no one has time to deal with it, is that?
Yeah, and you know, we had a fleet manager was getting, and then he left, and then. And I don't think it needs to be as complicated, quite frankly, as the county is making it out to be. Once something's surplus, I think we can put it on gov deals, but I gotta work with the treasurer on that. This is just an example I had from a previous PowerPoint about the inflation issue. I mean, that was our street sweeper. It cost $201,000 when it was bought in 2011. Its replacement is $460,000. It's almost 7% a year. That street sweeper, that's a photo of when it was new. It's not new anymore. We can't make it run. We took it to the manufacturer. They can't make it run. It's 14 years old. It was supposed to last 10 years. So it's on order. It might be here this summer. We rented one last summer for a chip seal program. It was $12,000 a month.
Monty, we might need to continue this after
We're almost to the end,
okay,
I believe.
I just heard there was like 15 more slides.
I just. Yeah.
I mean.
Go to the good news slides.
Fleet rates have to cover all the costs. I think the important thing about this is that, you know, we hear from customers like, well, I could rent a car cheaper than that. And it's like, well, you could, and then the money you save, Mark can give to fleet and roads to pay the higher rates because you bailed out of the program. When you are paying into the fleet program, you're paying for all of the overhead that goes with running the shops, the insurance, the fueling stations and that stuff's not cheap. So it's important that the county all stick together on having a healthy fleet program. We don't have people who are under budget pressure saying, well, I can go rent a car cheaper from Enterprise, so I'm gonna do it and get it that way. Because your rental rate isn't just what it costs for that car, it's what it costs for this program. So the further discussions to be had on that. Next slide. Electric vehicles, just, we've got 4 now and the charging thing is a mess. We gotta figure it out. There's no one to figure it out, but it's might be easier, you know, I wouldn't use my county credit card to charge up a county EV, and that could set up all kinds of alarm bells for auditing purposes and things like that. Next slide. So a lot to do in the fleet program. Next slide. And by the way, I'm doing that because we probably aren't going to have a fleet manager anytime soon. And then we have our financial team, who's a really important part of public works, but they don't really get the recognition because they don't do projects, but they do a ton of work. And our financial manager has been here 35 years, probably will retire in a couple of years. So that's going to be a huge thing for us to work on. As well as the CAMS Munis fleet software, they all work together. And there's only one person who can make that all work together in the county. He's retiring in 2 years. So a lot to work on there. Next slide. Conclusions. Basically, you know, with one person doing many critical jobs, it's kind of a house of cards. There's nowhere to scale back. Next slide. Next slide. As you know, you were getting at this today with that grant in Brendan, everything that's done in the general fund has a reaction somewhere else, right? That's money maybe that could have been used to reduce the diversion in public works. So, you know, you're right to be asking questions about how is this all related? When you add a position in the general fund, that means a position in public works might be going away. Next slide. That's just humorous. We're the only department that shrunk. Next slide.
DCD might be there too.
Yeah, they shrunk in 2008. I just think, you know, someone told me this to me a long time ago, like, you can dream about having a Ferrari and how awesome it would be and how much you could, how fast you can drive with that. But when your budget is a Geo Metro, don't drive the Geo Metro like a Ferrari because the wheels are just going to fall off and it won't get you anywhere. So asking a department of 6 people to do, all of this work is starting to feel a little bit unsustainable to me. We have just a massive workload. And I think people might think there's some massive government agency and group there to do all that. It's not. You're looking at a third of it right here, and there's a lot more than 8 hours in the day, because I'm usually there for 10. Eric was there for 13 hours for a bunch of days a week ago, dealing with, these road washouts and stuff. In the long term, that's just not sustainable. So this level of work is not sustainable with the staffing that we have. And we're gonna have to see where that takes us, but it probably looks like a lot less happening and getting done. Next slide. That's it. Sorry, went over time a little bit. The
It's a lot.
takeaway is just a ton going on, very few people to do it, and we are under a lot of financial pressure in our department.
Do you do anything fun in your personal lives?
Once in a while.
Doesn't sound like we give them personal.
Colorado River. Yeah, I did do a nice trip in October.
Good.
Yeah. There are some, nice benefits to county employment, vacation holiday. The county and cities and government used to be kind of like have the lock on those kind of benefits. We're not really, we're competing with private employers now who offer very similar benefits in a lot of ways, especially with the medical and retirement type. They don't offer pensions, but 401ks and stuff. So it's harder to attract people with a lower pay than they can make in the private sector by saying, yeah, but it's government employment, got all these great benefits. They're like, I already have that at my other job, and it didn't used to be that way. We're hiring a guy in lead who's taking a $6 an hour pay cut, who's getting paid paternity leave right now from his private sector employer. We don't offer that.
No.
But he is coming because he won't be traveling over 5 states, to do his job. He'll be traveling to the same location every day to do a job. So that was worth it to this particular person, right? But it's harder and harder to sell those benefits, especially when our housing market is, what it is.
So I was just gonna.
I think each one of these
You have more questions,
divisions
go ahead.
could be a workshop in and of
Yeah,
itself. And we
that's my
often do
question.
come in and do sewer workshops or solid waste workshops throughout the year, but I was asked to do a department briefing, so I did my
It's
best.
good.
to-
No, that was great.
It's good. And that's my question. It's more for the BOCC team to say, what are our tools for digging into and creating solutions?
Well,
when
I'm
a
struck by
department
the
is facing
fact
this?
that every week, we rarely have time to do briefing and calendaring. I haven't given you a meaningful legislative update, because we don't have time for it.
Right.
There's a lot going on. There's a
is.
lot of work our departments are doing in collaboration with me, for example. Eric and I have been working on the roads issue. I don't have time to tell you guys about it. And then we get a room full of public comment about an issue that we haven't been able to brief each other on. So we need to fix our internal processes too.
Yeah.
And
Need to figure
and
out how we can divide.
we are
and-
currently late for an executive
Can I
session.
just say too, Mark McCauley has been very supportive of Public Works and tried to reverse some of the funding that we lost with like reducing the diversion and stuff, and also funding many backlogged parks, deferred maintenance type projects and things. So despite the kind of doom and gloom here that I portray, our current county administrator has really done a lot to support Public Works, which I really appreciate,
for saying that.
but
Yeah.
but we're still facing, a lot of challenges.
And I'm going to DC later this week, largely to talk about secure rural schools.
Good.
So it's, it's all connected, but it's it's massively lacking in collaboration and coordination
Yes.
amongst all of us. And where's the time for that? So I'm really feeling challenged by that right now.
Me too.
And you guys are in the first executive session, so.
I might have to leave.
Okay, okay.
We'd like a public road show with these two guys.
They don't have time for it. Okay.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Just thank you guys and, I think we've been trying to be supportive. We understand the issues and it's good. I appreciate the tenor of the presentation. And just, full throated support for the TBD and continuing to look at ways to not just do more with less. And I recognize that was a theme that I
Totally.
took out of today. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we nixed the noxious weed report for 2024-25. We
Okay.
didn't have time for it.
Pushed it off to.
It'll be in a
future
couple weeks. Yep.
So thank you for communicating on that, Karen.
But we are gonna go into an executive session with our county administrator, our chief civil deputy prosecuting attorney, our civil deputy prosecuting attorney, our public works director, and our assistant public works director regarding potential litigation exemption as outlined in the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 42.30.110, parentheses 1, parentheses I. We're gonna go in at 11:10 and we'll come out at 11:40. Okay. We are coming out of executive session and we are not taking action. So 11:40 out of executive session and I was thinking we should address consent agenda next.
Yep.
That should be fairly fast.
Was there anything that anyone wanted to call out on consent agenda?
Well, I made reference to it in public comment, but just the number one, the hearing for the PFD. I guess I proposed that we
Yeah,
do everything the same, but have the hearing on April 7th instead of March 10th. Which allows us to, I've been assured from Jefferson Aquatic Coalition to get the data back.
Survey
from
results, yeah.
The survey. I mean, I'm not saying that I would vote against PFD if the survey was, mildly opposed. I think having that information as the public has requested is reasonable, so we should make that delay.
What you could do is, well, I kind of do want to talk with the PAO team, but I was gonna say, if by afternoon, we are in agreement, you can approve this hearing notice and we can just send it off to the but
Okay.
I'll update you later once I have a chance to talk.
Okay, so I guess I would like to pull number one for now to see the appropriate way to push that from March 10th to April 7th.
okay, got it, yes.
And then
A full month then to April 7th is what I heard.
That's, just to give it, so we can get the data back from the
Survey
survey.
results.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna make it tight, but I think that it's probably worthwhile just to make sure that it could be a misstep. So I mean, it's an argument that can be used against us is that we're steaming ahead without collecting the data, so.
No, I think it's a good move.
It is a good move.
I would say on item number 2, that we just heard.
We did.
A briefing from Monty that that's not just installing 2 stop signs, it's a bunch of site prep work and so a lot of additional expenses. And I actually have been communicating with WashDOT about putting in some flashing people walking
Oh, yeah,
with flashers on
Oh, yeah.
the road through Nordland.
they're saying 50K.
And it was 50,000 for 2 signs.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's not as expensive as I thought it would be, but sounds like that's a lot more work than just installing 2 stop signs.
That was very helpful information, and just to note that what's in the packet for both the public and for us as commissioners does make it seem like it's just we're adding a couple of stop signs. And so to have that level of what this money is paying for is really helpful and as additional information.
And I wrote the letter of support or modified a different one for number 4. That to support Bayside and applying for the SSVF grant, which right now is being run by the Opportunity Council out of Woodby Island, and it's the lack of local administrative support, I think is really having an impact on its implementation.
Yeah.
I talked to OLCAP last week and they're, increasing their levels of partnership with Bayside and they support this too.
That's great.
even
Thank you
though
for
it-
checking with them on that. I really wanted to know.
Yeah, and I think also your partial replacement of James Holdhouse as the director of housing there. I mean, his I feel like he's been in multiple branches of service and
Yeah.
and so he's a great
Amazing.
leader to really make sure that they're dotting the i's and crossing the t's on that grant.
Yeah, and I think everybody, maybe the public should know is James Holthouse actually was the SSBF
Admin.
case manager
Okay, right.
for OLCAP when OLCAP had the contract. So
I see.
he literally knows this project well.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
I'm confident that if he says Bayside can take it on well and do it well, that he's the right person to know whether they have the capacity for that.
Totally.
So that's good. I had a quick question on number 7, which I think is just kind of a systematic question. This is the Local Emergency Planning Committee, which I didn't know about.
Let's see.
How do all these various different emergency planning groups talk to each other?
Through
Like, for
DM,
example,
really.
JPrep and it's all kind of coordinated through
For
Willie?
Willie, yep.
Okay.
And LEPC is new as of last year.
What do they do in addition to the other committees? Like, what do they do in addition to JPrep or?
I only heard a brief part of their meeting, but yeah, they talk about how they would respond to an emergency and they have different presenters talk at their meetings.
Is it like the first responders actually really getting together and talking from a first responder perspective?
There are first responders in LEPC.
Okay.
And the board is still growing.
Yeah, we're still standing it up, really.
Okay.
Yeah, they have an open-ended roster, so they can keep adding new members. And so outgoing Sheriff Noel is not there, so Andy Persner would be in his place. And then I think Chris Capri, that's a new position for the state.
And there's fire chiefs on it, right? Who else
And
is?
police department as well.
Tom Olson, okay. The city,
It's just interesting to me that we're supposed to be on this JPrep committee, which I still can't get any information about when it meets or what it does, yet this LEPC is kind of developing.
So I just Googled it. LEPC is specifically to maintain emergency response plans for hazardous materials incidents.
And it's one of those required committees.
Very detailed. Okay, got it. Thank you. That's really helpful and sounds like there is enough oversight for it to be talking to all the other
And
systems.
yeah,
which
they
is
have
exactly what it is.
a Navy representative, Taylor Shellfish Farms, Jefferson Transit, American Red Cross, Quilcene Fire Rescue. So they have a wide range of
Great, sounds
members.
like great experts.
with some of the hazardous material.
Specifically.
Specifically. So that's what
Thank
the name
you.
is on there. But
That's
I'll
really-
call out Ron Rempel and Pat Teal, both who have really
Yes.
given exemplary service, and Ron gave a great presentation for the Conservation Futures earlier this year, so those are easy reappointments to support.
Continued support from our depth of volunteers in this community. It's amazing. I don't have anything else for consent.
Well, I will move that we pull number 1 for now and approve and adopt the rest of the consent agenda as presented.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay.
Can I ask a lunchtime question?
Yeah.
Were you planning to go to the point of time debrief?
Yes, just zooming in.
Yeah.
But I can just listen in if you want to have.
No, you can, I mean, I didn't end up doing it, but
Oh, right.
based with illness and other stuff, so I
Oh, right.
think
Okay.
I will defer to you and not attend, so. you
Okay,
can-
yeah, I was gonna listen in and
I'd
just
love to
kind
hear
of
how-
with an ear to what do we need to do to be most prepared next year?
Yep.
What I'm kind of looking for and what kind of data did we actually end up getting out of it, which I don't know that we know that yet, but. I have another letter of support that I want to just tell you about. That just came, I just replied to it yesterday. From an email that came in on Friday, and that is from Jefferson Healthcare. They're asking me to draft and send a letter in support of a grant that they're applying for a potential new imaging center in Port Ludlow to serve Port Ludlow, Brennan, Quilcene. So I'm very inclined to draft and send that letter, and I just was asking them, I think their deadline is March 5th. So, I was thinking about whether I think there's time, yeah, we have one more meeting before then, so I asked her, I said, would it be more impactful if it came from all three of us, and so I'll check and see if there's any reason she wants it to only come from me, but if not, I would bring it here for consent.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you know what the grant opportunity is?
I can pull it up in just a sec, don't know off the top of my head, I don't recall, but I'll pull it up. Okay, that is. One other thing, just so you have a heads up, I think I'm gonna put in an agenda request to have Jolene Crone from Salish Behavioral Health ASO come and do, just kind of a general update. Soon, she's starting to do a tour of all the counties and is wanting to do that, so.
Great.
I thought that would be a good timing. No, I'm trying to remember where this came from here.
On the behavioral health front, myself and the ED of Jumping Mouse on Friday testified on House Bill 1805,
Nice.
Derringer's 1/10 of 1% for kids and families. So we'll see how that goes. Tim Iman had been signed up to testify against the bill, but he didn't show up. So, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
He didn't show up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of good.
Maybe he realized didn't have the fiscal impact. I don't know what was motivating him in the first place on that specific proposal.
Submitting an appropriations request, so it looks like it's going to government, which may not be as successful.
Kind of depends
as an
on which,
option.
I mean, cause if it's the state appropriate, I mean, like we made a support of habitat for that.
Right, so I'll check and see,
Just
because
check
we
and
can't
see.
do both, right?
Well, I mean, they aren't asking us to be a fiscal sponsor, but we should just make sure we understand if we've
Yep.
stood up for a different request to the same bucket.
Okay, I will find out exactly which appropriation, because obviously they've missed the deadline for local community projects, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it can't be that, it must be something different, I'll find out. Good question.
And Friday was the first policy cutoff for the legislature,
Yeah.
so
When do we find out what stands up?
I'm meeting with Stephanie tomorrow
Okay.
to find out what bills have died that we were tracking, but now we'll start really hearing about budget stuff, so
Yeah.
I'm not reporting on budget stuff because I'm hiding anything, there hasn't been a lot of action on it.
Yeah, a
It's
lot of things
been
that didn't have.
policy time.
Okay,
We're likely not going to have time to talk calendar or briefing after the break, I'm guessing. Do you think that's accurate? Karen?
1:30, I mean, it's looking, the afternoon looks packed.
Yeah, I don't think there's time.
Yeah, I mean, is there any other, should we look for other
Yeah.
conflicts or anything? we
Yeah,
need?
I mean, we might as well spend the time we have together here.
sure. Let's see.
I think I already asked you to chair next Monday,
I'll
the
do that.
3rd.
Yep.
I'll be joining you, but it'll be virtual.
And I'm
Okay.
doing KPTC on Friday. Let me just send a message to Jen.
And we did a good KPTZ show on Friday on public defense with Richard Davies
Oh,
and then
nice.
Derek Young, the ED of WASAC, talking about House Bill 1592 and the proposal to get the state to pony up for its constitutional requirements.
Yeah,
So, we'll see what happens.
cool.
I am bringing Jeff Chapman, so we're gonna, since the property tax bills have gone out, he was willing to come and talk with me, so. Yeah, we'll probably have a potentially robust conversation about Mr. Kennewick's comment and what happened today. I mean, we've got connectivity fair coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm
Wow,
excited
yeah.
about that.
I gotta get my Ignite talk done.
Connectivity Summit. Actually, I still am unclear because I haven't been assigned, I'm planning to be there, but I haven't been assigned any of those kind of suggestions about things that I'm supposed to represent. So maybe just trying to understand where you guys are going to be giving comments and I can ask them if they have any gaps. I'm going to be there, happy to support, but.
Yeah, I haven't.
Right. I have not agreed to table anywhere. There's lots of, I mean, you could table at public health, you
Sure.
could table at Jefferson Transit and give relief. And then I thought you were doing something with the youth.
I am gonna just attend the Youth
Okay.
Voices Summit.
We can
Um,
all be there, right? We just can't participate in a conversation together.
I think that's right.
So I'm giving one of the 5-minute, kind of little mini TED Talks on
Right.
Saturday afternoon.
On AI.
On AI in the
Mhm.
public sector.
Mhm.
And there's lots of other, county staff as well as local community partners. I think it'll be fun. I'm missing the training that's happening this week, but it's I'm thinking about it, so 20 slides, auto forwarding, so it's kind of like that.
Got it,
Is that
yeah.
Japanese term? I always forget. That's your, I don't know, Ignite Talks. are the
Ignite
same
Talks,
thing.
yes, I was on the housing panel last year,
Okay,
so it's a very forgiving audience.
yeah, good.
I am going to Quilcene this week.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna meet with some residents there, and I'm trying to set up some time to see the community center the following week and try to get to the Brennan Community Center too.
Excellent.
So I worked with the Production Alliance on a letter, I think that we all signed.
Right, we all did that.
And then I think you're attending the youth symposium. They asked me to attend the opening ceremonies on the 8th at 10:30.
Okay, so that's what, I know they were looking for some comments, just kickoff comments from commissioners, and I think they needed that in a few different places.
Yeah, the one place I wasn't, the one place I felt like I couldn't really, I wasn't really understanding their request was on the climate resilience piece. They were trying to find someone to braid the Rosalie Walls's comments about climate with the planning staff's kind of work on the climate resilience elements in the comp plan. And I was like, tell me what you're looking for. And I think they were looking for just someone to glue those two together. And I suggested, I said, reach out to Kate. She's been doing climate work for the county for, years. So I haven't heard back from them.
Okay, well, I'll
On
reach out
that.
to them and see
Yeah.
if there's anything I can.
Yeah, cause that might be a place where they need someone to pick up.
Yeah.
A rope,
Okay.
pick up
I'm
an oar.
about to have my first
Yeah.
climate action committee. I'm excited about
nice.
that. That's happening this week, tomorrow, actually. And I do get to be part of the food resilience work group. Housing Fund Board this week.
I think I already, Heather's gonna handle the first LSC meeting of April for me, which is
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah. I just realized I somehow put my Friday night book club on my county calendar. I'm sure I meant to put that
Oh,
on
I
my
was-
personal calendar.
I always put personal in
Mhm.
front of it. I
Shout
only,
out to my book club group.
I only keep the county calendar, so I don't. Cause I need to have everything in one place.
Yeah. Jefferson County Children's Advocacy Center open house on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm planning on going to that, but we're just gonna go and
Yep.
support.
Go and support, go and listen. Oh, and I get to do a tour of the EOC with Willie on Thursday. I'm gonna go kind of see all that emergency management. He said not to get too excited, so it's like a plastic table.
A
and-
short tour.
There's not much to it, really.
Not much to it. I am excited to talk food resilience and I had also said actually, you didn't get to hear this at the ICG meeting.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Suggested that, in talking with Willie, I asked him, so this is Willie Bentz from Department of Emergency Management, I had said, fill me in on what am I supposed to know as a commissioner when an emergency happens? Like, where am I supposed to be? What information am I supposed to know? And he said, he had given a presentation on this kind of right around Heidi's, when Commissioner Eisenhower started her term, I think, but that was maybe a time to do that again. And I suggested to the ICG that, you know, it might be time for us all to kind of come together as a, what is your role as an elected in an emergency? And it sounds like Willie's really willing to do that. So, I need to follow up with him and get something like that planned for electeds. Notes are getting a little unreadable here.
Expansive. Oh,
Yeah. All right.
Anything else?
No other conflicts?
I'm just gonna talk calendaring real quick, or the upcoming agenda, March 3rd. We had 2 proclamations in the morning. One of them, I think, Greg, you're doing
Yep.
for Women's Day.
Right.
And then Red Cross Month. And then it would roll right into the public health update at 9:45. However, Josh has requested a time frame before that session. So I was gonna move those proclamations to the afternoon.
Okay.
But he's wanting a hearing notice approved, so he has to do it that morning
Okay.
before the public health update. So just wanted to call it out.
Okay.
That's fair.
Great.
Sounds good.
Do you, how do I plan a date for bringing Salish Behavioral Health ASO? Do I just submit an agenda request to you and you tell me when a date is good, or should I look ahead with you and find a date?
And I can show you that offline. We have a
Okay.
BOCC agenda planner. You'll see if there's time on the agenda, and we try not to pack the agenda, but it
Yeah.
feels like it has been lately. We had 2 more workshops coming up on March 3rd, but then after that,
After
not
that
for a
is
while.
good. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I think that would be perfect.
And you might want to consider Board of Health as well, or all of Board of Health.
Having her present there instead of here.
Yeah.
Oh, good
That's what I
idea.
did with Orca. We were gonna originally come to the commissioners, but
Right.
but we
And you
did all
should
the
check with Apple and
commissioners.
see if she's planning any,
That's a really good idea. Cause I can see the value for the rest of the Board of Health as well.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And I'll be gone. I'm here all this week, and then Monday, but I'll be gone for 2 weeks, so I will be working ahead, trying to get some things done before I'm gone, so I might be reaching out to you guys individually.
Yep.
During that time.
Oh, goodness. I was trying to think of one other thing I had.
yeah, on the Salish stuff, I usually would coordinate with Apple.
Yep.
Just to see if she had any communications that she was doing with them, because
That's great.
around all the opioid funding being deployed, you know, there was a lot more collaboration going on.
Right, I am actually working closely with her and
Oh,
Lori
great.
Fleming.
Oh, great.
Because I'm
Okay,
trying to plan this opioid settlement workshop for us as
Nice.
well, which
Great.
we're shooting for May.
Okay.
To bring that, probably end of May, beginning of June is
Cool.
what we're planning to bring a workshop here. And so I'll be working with Jolene, Apple, Lori, and several others to kind of
Great.
pull enough information so that we can make a decision. But I just asked to not rush that process because I think it's complex.
Air cleaner, picked it up. Episode.
Anything else? Before we recess?
Oh, one other thing. I am still struggling with that conflict between the Clean Water District and the Behavioral Health Coalition. They are always gonna fall at the same time, and I've asked both of the coordinators and they both feel like they can't really adjust. So
I can keep clean water.
you could, that's one option, or the other option is for me to alternate. And I don't really
I'll
have
leave
a
it
big
up to you, I'll
preference.
leave it up to you, whatever you, I mean, I don't think there's a conflict, standing conflict on my calendar. I think we're just trying to get you some, like,
Yeah.
committee
And
assignments that
some
were
new
were
knowledge.
interesting to you.
I think what I would like to do is to meet, just so I can get a perspective on what it is and what's involved in that work, and then probably turn it over to you and just stay with behavioral health because it's needing so much kind of coordination and continuity, I think, between all the behavioral health. So if you're open to that, I think that's probably
Yeah.
what I would choose, just to be clean about it. and
Unless
give them the
Craig is
most
craving clean
support.
water.
No,
Yeah.
I feel like it's Thursday afternoons, right?
Yeah,
Thursdays,
yeah.
there was something else that's a bit of a conflict occasionally, but.
No, I love the Clean Water District because I love the
work.
the pig program and hearing about all the
Yeah.
monitoring spots and.
Totally.
Okay, well, I think that's gonna be the most supportive for the two to not have to have
Yeah.
a commissioner that shows up every other meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Okay,
Sounds good.
let's do that. And
Anything else? I'm just letting a little time go by because sometimes
Yeah.
we go, oh,
The pregnant
Yeah.
pause is good.
I know.
Always good.
anything from you? Any conflicts or calendaring?
No, I do have a week's vacation coming up,
Oh, yay.
the week of 7 April, but otherwise I'll be
Are you
here.
taking me with you, I hope?
What's that?
Taking me with you, I hope?
Taking my wife.
His wife is gonna be there.
Oregon Coast,
Fun.
Nice.
45 years of marriage.
Oh,
Oh, fun.
that's great.
This will be 25 for us. It's like, oh my God, that went fast.
Ah. Wow.
Well, if
So
there's
it's-
nothing else, we'll recess until 1:30 and we come back and I think we go right
Exec session.
into executive session.
That executive session is big afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It happened
Oh, were you
again.
sideways? Oh, how weird. That's happened before?
It's happened to me too.
Really? Is it more if you hold it?
Is that rotate lock?
Yeah.
I've not had that problem.
Well, I'll be with you.
Why
on-
does it do it?
What was the fix there?
You gotta go to
Greg?
desktop. You want me to do it? You just gotta use your mouse only one way or the other way so you can figure out, try to make it, okay,
Yeah.
right click on the desktop. No,
What's
just
up?
right.
I
in the
know,
box button.
I'm trying.
Go to display properties. Just do one axis or the other is,
I know, it's like,
and then scroll down, you're gonna have to uncheck. Scroll, you wanna go down further in the menu.
trying to get them scroll. Uncheck display.
And then first you have to turn that on, so just to go to rotation lock and click it on.
Mhm.
How they told us, or maybe it's already off. Well, maybe actually just go to this, I think you might, oh no, this is grayed out, so you have to switch that to on. And now that's ungrayed out, so go to where it says portrait and hit the drop down. And go to landscape, you want it flipped? No, then just landscape, yeah, and then keep the changes before it reverts.
Thank you.
Yep.
I thought I already did that once.
I wonder why it
Okay.
does it.
Sometimes when you open
Carolyn.
it in here is when it's.
Sorry.
That's right, we're recording.
Okay. So, I guess I don't even need to go to the meeting. I'm calling our Board of County Commissioners meeting back into order. And we are immediately going into executive session with the county administrators, chief civil deputy prosecuting attorney, civil deputy prosecuting attorney, and Department of Community Development Director regarding potential litigation. Exemption is outlined in the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 42.30.110, parentheses 1, parentheses I. We're going in at 1:32 and we will come out at 2:02. Okay, we are coming out of executive session and we're gonna extend for 5 more minutes. So we're gonna extend for 6 minutes from 2:04 to 2:10. We're going back into executive session with the county administrator, chief civil deputy prosecuting attorney, civil deputy prosecuting attorney, and Department of Community Development Director regarding potential litigation exemption as outlined in the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 42.30.110, parentheses 1, parentheses I. We will be back out at 2:10. Okay, we are coming out of executive session and we are not taking action. We're going to recess now until 3 p.m. Actually, are we going to need more time?
You're need more time.
We're going to recess till 3:15 p.m. because we are taking more time with everything today. So we will be back at 3:15 p.m. and we'll be going immediately into an executive session. See you then. Okay. So we are back from recess and we are going to go right into executive session with the county administrator and human resources director to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment. No discussion of salaries, wages, and other conditions of employment to be generally applied within the county, and no final action on the hiring, setting the salary of an individual employee or class of employees, or discharging or disciplining an employee. Exemption is outlined in the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 42.30.110, parentheses 1, parentheses G. We are going into executive session at 3:19 and we'll come out at 3:50.
And Caroline, I don't think. Give it the camera.
Yeah.
We're gonna exceed our fire capacity.
And we have lots of time.
Are there more people in the hall? Nope.
That's it.
Okay. Is the owl working? Okay. So we are coming out of executive session and not taking action. And we are going to open for public comment. So we can hear from all of you. So how many people in the room wish to make a public comment?
Everybody. No, not Dennis.
About
Everybody except Dennis.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to limit public comment to like a minute and a half. Can we do that?
Well, I was just gonna let you know too, the courthouse can stay open longer too, if needed.
Let's
And there's still people online as
Okay,
well.
2 minutes. We're gonna do 2 minutes. And I'm gonna start in the back corner of the room over there with whoever wants to come up first.
Yeah.
And this topic is on the appointment of our sheriff.
Like come up there?
Come up to the podium
Never done this.
and then the timer will be started and.
You're always doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't have to state your name.
Oh, I
Just-
don't, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm saying, Art Frank for sheriff. I'm here to offer my support for Art Frank as sheriff. Art has been a dedicated, hardworking officer and fire chief in this community. And he helps his community and has integrity and honesty, and I've seen him treat citizens with respect and treated people fairly. He likes being a police officer and would be a great leader of our police department as sheriff. I've known him and his family for a long time. I will do a great job. He will do a great job leading our department through chaotic times and easy times. I trust Art Frank to be in it for the right reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. John, are you gonna come up?
I prefer just to stand.
Okay, that's
and
fine.
Wobbly, come on in. I'm here for Art. I met Art 10 years ago when we were serving along with his wife Ann Phillips on the Sheriff Stanko's Citizens Advisory Committee. So Art was representing the deputies in the department, Anna was representing the courthouse, and I was a citizen at large. I represented Port Townsend and Marrowstone Island. So then I've known Art for 10 years. I've known him as a patrolman, a patrol sergeant, under sheriff, and as a deputy, and I'm a member of the family. But Art is so much more than a law enforcement officer. He serves on the, he's a fire commissioner, District 18, the Quilcene area, where he's their financial officer. He works for, he's with an organization here in town called Community Build, an organization that's building little houses, affordable houses for people. So he's a person of vast experience. He had a long career law enforcement in California. So he has many years of law enforcement experience. A decent man, an honest man, a firm man, and sometimes he smiles.
I've never done this before either.
Well, we should have a donation box.
I know.
The experience we're giving you.
Exactly. Well, thank you for letting me speak. I'm Mike Mulligan, a 10-year resident of the county, and I live out on Marrowstone Island. You only need to open the leader to see that our county is going to be growing. The sewer system, there's a Dollar Tree store opening in Hadlock. And hopefully that means we can build more housing, which we desperately need. But that's going to bring more people, more young people, hopefully, to fill the jobs that our community need them to do. With that growth is going to come more pressure on law enforcement. And I believe we need JCSO to step up and recognize that and prepare to deal with it. And Art is the only candidate that has the broad experience, not only with small communities, but with larger communities. And he's uniquely positioned to navigate the change that I believe is coming. His philosophy is one of service and accountability. And we saw that in the last election, what his philosophies are, so I won't belabor it. But I believe, and I strongly urge you to appoint Art as our next sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, are we gonna hear from you today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, gentlemen, nope. Andy, you wanna say anything?
I'll wait.
Okay. Sheriff Knoll, I'm gonna go, and then I'm gonna come back to the next row, so pretty soon, Dennis.
Hello.
You thought you were done with us.
I know. No.
Likewise.
Okay, well, hello, and thank you for having us all here to talk to you about this important matter. My name is Joe Knoll. I'm recently retired Jefferson County Sheriff, and I live in Chimacum. I was with the Sheriff's Office for the past 34 years. And sorry for all the extra work I've caused.
Thank you.
For everybody. But anyway, I was only able to retire, I felt, early because it was a good time. Because I had Andy Bernsteiner as my undersheriff, who was second in command, and the deputies were in a position of, their competency and dedication to the community. I just felt it was I was able to leave without feeling like I was leaving people in the lurch, and I knew that, leaving the department, I was leaving it in a much better place than it was when I took over in 2018. Andy Bernsteiner has been with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office for the past 26 years. Most of that time, he's worked as a supervisor. He was my undersheriff for the past 6, and I got better when I could not have hoped for it. Andy believes in the same democratic ideals and understands the importance and fairness of prioritizing mental health challenges, substance abuse, and homelessness with enforcing the law. And all this with the goal of breaking the cycle of arresting people, taking them to jail, and then arresting them again. Andy understands that life is complicated. Not everything has a simple black and white, one-size-fits-all solution. Andy also believes in the premise that law enforcement is a part of the community with the responsibility to help those we're entrusted to protect as well as enforce the law. Andy knows the operation of the Sheriff's Office better than anyone currently there. He is extremely knowledgeable of the budget process and budgetary limitations and how to navigate in that arena, keeping in mind all the other county departments who all rely on the same pot of money. Working in law enforcement all these years, you get an idea, you think about stuff like, well, if something happened to my house, if one of my if my family members or a friend was victimized, who do I want coming? What deputy do I want to come to my house? And I want someone that comes from a department run by Andy Bernsteiner. So my recommendation is
that you move Andy Bernstein forward for the appointed position and let the election take care of the rest of things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Nope, the one behind you, Dennis.
Anyway, stand here.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I agree with what Joe said, but I'm here, I have concerns about Art Frank. Jefferson County deserves a sheriff with an unblemished record of fairness, integrity, and sound judgment. Appointing someone with a documented history of wrongful arrest, malicious prosecution would send the wrong message to the public and could expose the county. Deputy Frank was previously employed as a detective with the Glendale Police Department in California before he joined the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. His actions in that role led to a federal civil lawsuit, and it was BOCC versus City of Glendale, in which the allegations is that Art Frank made a wrongful arrest, malicious prosecution. The jury found that Deputy Frank unlawfully arrested and maliciously prosecuted Mr. Edmund Ovespan without probable cause. The jury further found that Deputy Frank's conduct was malicious, oppressive, and in reckless disregard to his first name is Edmund, his rights. It awarded the plaintiff $2.6 million. Art Frank himself was fined $75,000 by the Ninth Circuit Court. The Ninth Circuit Court upheld the jury's findings that Deputy Frank's actions violated Mr. Edmund's constitutional rights, and he was not entitled to qualified immunity. Also, on the other hand, is that when Deputy Frank entered the JCSO, it was not brought up, but as a public servant and a commission officer, he violated the Hatch Act, to where a commission officer could not run for public office if his agency received federal documentation or received federal money. And for some reason that got by. I know Mr. Kennedy, the prosecutor, brought up something for why he did not charge him. I do not know. I also know that as a foundation president for the sheriff's office, I put on numerous awards, picnics, and things for the sheriffs, their deputies, and their families. Where the families can get together, the deputies can interact, there's a lot of camaraderie. Art Frank never shows up. So if he's not going to support his officers in a peaceful, friendly manner with their families,
2 minutes.
how is he going to be a leader for the county? I disregard with this selection.
Okay, Debbie,
Okay, I'm sorry, I got a.
it's over to you.
A new phone, I don't know. Okay. Sorry. Hi, my name is Debbie Steele. I'm from Port Townsend, and I'm here to ask you to appoint Art Frank as our new sheriff. Art Frank, I believe, has vision. I believe he has new ideas. He'll bring something interesting and new to the process, which I think we all need. I also know Art from, of course, Community Build. What I know about him is his heart is huge. He's very supportive of people of all types. And he is a leader in our group, and his leadership skills are excellent. He often steers us in the right direction when we're going the wrong way, and I like that. He's not afraid to say what he has to say, and I like that. I think Art Frank will make an excellent sheriff for us. That's my vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no.
Linda?
Hi, everybody. My name is Linda Brewster. I'm a Democratic PCO, and I was part of the small Jefferson County Democrats Committee that developed the questionnaire and review process for the candidates. When I first read the questionnaire responses of those candidates, my immediate impression was that there was only one candidate with the clarity of vision needed to lead the department and to get buy-in from the staff. Having led the JCSO to complete 85% of the requirements for accreditation, Mr. Frank has watched for 6 years as subsequent leadership has let much of that work expire. Accreditation will require Jefferson County Sheriff's Office to adopt best professional standards and to meet those standards every 4 years. Why would we not want that? Heck, Grays Harbor County has already completed their accreditation process. But there's apparently only one candidate who's long believed that accreditation is important and who has both the energy and motivation to get staff buy-in for that process. And Art isn't just more experienced than his opponent. He's also clearly more comfortable evaluating the current functioning of the sheriff's office and recommending solutions. Some examples. He identified a gaping departmental need for more staff training and more consistent supervision, guidance, and support. I was impressed also by his understanding and his personal experience with the value of debriefing after use of force incidents, which is not current practice in Jefferson County. Members of our community, particularly those in the more remote parts of our county, deserve better service from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and Mr. Frank is the candidate, both acknowledging that problem and with a plan to address it. I strongly urge you to offer the position of interim sheriff to Art Frank. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Gentleman in the blue shirt in the middle row right there, don't you? Come on up. Come on up.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Gibo. I'm a 30-year resident of Jefferson County. I live in Shine. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in studies related to my law enforcement career, most of which was with the Seattle Police Department and then with the State Attorney General's office. I know and respect all three candidates for this position. I have worked with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office as a volunteer investigator and as a special investigator under two separate sheriffs. I have served on the Jefferson County Civil Service Commission for over 20 years. And there's a letter from me that's in the file. Apparently, I hope you got it anyway.
We did.
So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about when I say it's time for our county to embrace modern law enforcement. My belief is Art Frank is the best candidate, the most qualified candidate to achieve this. He has the skills to lead and is a mentor to others and inspires them to grow professionally and better serve our community. And I urge you to appoint him as sheriff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a comment? Yep. You guys are getting my pattern now.
Yeah, we got your pattern.
Okay, next,
Good
Brian.
afternoon. I'm Sue Heston and I too have lived in Shine for more than 30 years and I'm familiar with law enforcement because that guy's my husband. My career was in healthcare where professional development was emphasized. Throughout Bob's time on the Civil Service Commission, it has often bothered me to learn that uniformed deputies are frequently unable to pass the promotional exam, which is primarily based on their current job description. I just heard though that 3 of them passed, which is awesome. That's good news, but it isn't historically true. While it's shocking to me that this occurs, rather than a reflection on the deputies, I see it as a lack of mentoring leadership and the general culture within JCSO. Your responsibility is to choose the best, most qualified person to hold the title of sheriff. I urge you to choose Art Frank as he has experience and skills to lead and mentor others. He is passionate about bringing JCSO up to modern law enforcement standards. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian.
Hi. I'll walk over here. I'm Brian McKenzie. I'm a teacher at Chimicum High School, president of the Chimicum Education Association. Here to support Art, to begin with by rebutting the misrepresentation of that lawsuit that was mentioned by an earlier speaker. Art worked the case. He arrested the guy who initially was the prime suspect, and then he continued working the case. And then he found the correct suspect. Which led to the release of the initial suspect. Now, the initial suspect had been incarcerated and was mad about it and sued later and sued everybody involved. But Art was a policeman working the case, following the leads. And, that guy would, be in prison today if Art had not done his job and exonerated him, and Art's thanks was getting sued. We live in a litigious society. He wasn't charged for the Hatch Act because he didn't violate the Hatch Act. Art is, as other people have mentioned, a man of ideas and vision, and this comes through both in his written answers and I'm sure in his interview. If we want the citizens of Jefferson County to have world-class law enforcement, the best, which we deserve, there is only one candidate who can make that happen. If we want a candidate who reflects the democratic values of the voters of Jefferson County, there is only one candidate who has never voted for the man who is currently president of the United States. I urge you to choose both the most qualified candidate and the candidate who represents the values of the voters of Jefferson County. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Charlene Pinks from Coyle. Art has a heart for this community. He works hard to resolve issues. He makes people feel safe while solving the problems. He spends the necessary time to point someone in the right direction, as I've seen him come alongside my neighbors and guide them to become better. I ask that you appoint Art as their sheriff, and I believe his desire to make Jefferson County a better place while serving and protecting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Keep coming up.
My name is Jim. I'm her husband. I've known Art Franks for a few years now, and I've seen him do things that I wouldn't think a sheriff was able to do. I mean, he takes people that have gone onto the wrong side of the law and try and guide them back over to the right side. And he's helpful in the community. He's a volunteer firefighter, fire commissioner, and I consider him a friend. So my vote is for Art.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Schmidt, and I want to encourage the commissioners to appoint Art Frank as the next sheriff. I've known Art for approximately 10 years. He served in our county here in the law enforcement. Previous to that, he was in a larger city, and has been mentioned, and we are growing. And I believe we will see new challenges as we grow, which in the time I've been here, we've seen lots of new challenges from other counties. We're a pass-through county for the coast. And I believe we need somebody that has the knowledge and the skill to address those things that we approach. I think that Art has the skill, he has the knowledge, and above all, he has desire to serve the community. And I think those are real qualities that we need when we pick a man to service, is somebody that wants to do the job. I vote for Art Frank.
My name is Thane Groves. I'm a captain with Coal Seam Fire Rescue, commissioner for the Jefferson County Parks and Recreation District #1. And I'm here in support of Art Frank because I'm certain of his commitment to sorry, I've missed my place here. For his commitment to grow the capabilities, the quality, and the efficiencies in the sheriff's office. And I support Art Frank.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Powell. I live on Marison Island with my family since 2001. I'm a firefighter with King County, City of Renton, been there for quite a few years. I want to let you know, well, first of all, I want to say this is a unique situation because usually a sheriff is decided through an election. But that's unfortunately not where we're at right now. We're in a process of trying to figure out who's going to be sheriff until the election. And I would encourage you to really consider some of the things that we have in front of us with Art Frank. I'm here to support Art Frank, and he has integrity. You can see from the community that he's had an impact with community build. He's out building homes. He's out with the fire department. The first time I met Art Frank, was when my daughter was a Girl Scout. I didn't know Art. He came up to me and said, "Hey, I just moved to the Coil. I'm a volunteer firefighter. What happens if my neighbor has a heart attack? The nearest AED is 30 minutes away." And so we started discussing a plan on how to get medical aid to the Coil to help his neighbors. That's who Art Frank is. It's very rare that we have a candidate this qualified. Please really think about that. I encourage you, he has incredible experience, leadership. He has a vision for our future. And more importantly, right now, in these times, he supports every individual in our county. And that's something I want right now, as I see our federal government is breaking down. Art supports us. Please give Art a chance.
Thank you.
Hello, Ruth Gordon. I live in Port Townsend, and I am here to discuss the role that you're playing today. As you know, the Constitution had this little Easter egg hidden in it that if everything lines up right, you get to choose an elected official, and I can tell that you're not super delighted with your Easter basket. So, just to say, this is your duty, and you have the authority to make an appointment. And I don't believe there's anything magic about this appointment. It's like any other appointment you would make. Your duty is the same. Difference is there will be a confirmation opportunity in the election where if the public doesn't like what you do, they will override you. But for now, this is your responsibility to make an appointment that you feel is the best for the people of Jefferson County. You're appointing somebody who is going to be spending the majority of your budget and providing 24/7 departments in service. So your assessment of the materials that you've been provided and the candidates or nominees in their interview and the things that people have said all should just go together and make for you, help you make your decision to choose the person who's best suited for our needs as a community at this time, based on their qualifications and your belief that they will make decisions that are well-grounded for us and provide good leadership. And that's it. And then you can go home and worry about all your other issues that you have to worry about. Just do your best and choose the best candidate.
Thanks, Ruth. David?
Good afternoon. My name is David Tonkin, a 20-year resident of Irondale. Last year, I served on the Sheriff's Office Citizens Advisory Committee. Today, you have two choices to make. One, Art Frank, who has 44 years of extensive experience. Since January 2016 at the JCSO, Art has been a patrol deputy, detective, chief criminal deputy, and undersheriff. During 35 years at the Glendale PD, Art was a patrol officer, training officer, K-9 officer, detective, and on the SWAT and DUI teams. Art received a Medal of Valor and a Medal of Heroism. For 6 months, Art ran the largest, most complex criminal investigation in Los Angeles County, leading local, state, and federal agencies. Over 6 years, with Art's help, this resulted in solving 11 murders and attempted murders and taking 17 killers off the street. Steve Dickman, a 27-year Los Angeles County Deputy DA, said in 2021 that he never met a police officer more committed to doing what is right and what is fair than Art. Second choice, Andy Bernsteiner, who has limited training and for 26 or 27 years has been going through the ranks at JCSO as a patrol deputy, patrol sergeant, and undersheriff. For the last 6 years, while Andy has served as undersheriff, the JCSO has failed to update the commissioner's approved strategic plan and complete accreditation that was already 90% done. To properly utilize the Citizens Advisory Committee created by the board per its bylaws, You also failed to follow essential.
That's 2 minutes, David.
Okay, failed to follow community policing practices and provide sufficient training for possible mass shooting events. Stability does not guarantee effectiveness. And I support strongly the appointment of Art Frank.
Thank you. And I see that we have a number of hands up online. If you're in the Zoom room online, I know I see that. I'm just queuing them up. If you're on the Zoom room and you want to make a public comment, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and we'll bring you over in the order that we see your hands go up. And then if you're on the phone, you can press *9 and your hand will go up. Okay.
Hi, I'm Karen Samuelson, David's wife. I've lived in Jefferson County for 22 years and currently we reside in Irondale. I met Art Frank when he ran for sheriff and have since gotten to know him and have been really impressed with his vast knowledge of law enforcement and just general character. I think that our county deserves, our residents and our businesses, someone with his vast experience and commitment, and the person that can lead us into the future. I hope you'll give him good consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and online I see Jean, I saw you first, so you can unmute and you'll have 2 minutes for public comment.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I'm out in the wilderness.
Yep, I can hear you.
So, as you anyway know, I have long been a member of the local Democratic Party, and I have served in, about half of the positions available within that party structure. I also served to the ad hoc committee to draft the questionnaire and vet the candidates. I have also served for about 8 years on the Citizens Advisory Committee to the sheriff, and I was appointed to that committee by a previous sheriff, Dave Stanko. I've had a good look into many candidates and many deputies and all of these sheriffs, and I also do this thing that I refer to as recreational cop ambushing, where I see officers in the wild and I just kind of pull over and talk to them. And what I've learned through this, that I've been doing for many years, is that the deputies at Jefferson County Sheriff's Department have a tremendous respect and support for Andy Pernsteiner. They feel that he has their back, that he supports them, that he encourages growth and development and education and use of force comprehension and all those good things that we like to advocate for. I would also like to point out that you cannot push a rope. And when I'm talking about the culture of law enforcement, it is critical to have a leader in that department who is able to lead by example and command the respect of their subordinates. And so for this and many other reasons, including just the overwhelming authenticity and competence, of Andy, I would strongly encourage you to select him to continue in that role. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Tom, you will unmute and you'll have 2 minutes for comment.
Okay, thank you. I would try not to take 2 minutes. For years now, we trusted Joe Knoll. And I think you need to continue to trust him and listen to his recommendation. He appointed the current acting sheriff. And I think that the person who's currently serving in that role needs to continue in that role. Joe Knoll is right. And that's the person that I would trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And Shelley, I see you've joined us. Do you want to make a public comment? You can just unmute and you'll have 2 minutes. You're still muted, Shelley. There you go.
Shelley Yarnell Brennan. Yes, thank you for the time to take a minute today to show my support for Andy Pernsteiner. I agree with Tom Tiersch in the fact that Joe Knoll appointed Andy because he felt he was the right person. The commissioners already have had him stay until they're making this decision today. He is supporting his staff and doing a great job. And we already have had an election that the community didn't elect Art Frank as a sheriff. And I would like to see Andy continue in his role until the next election is held. And then the people can decide at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. And I saw one member of the public join us in the room. Were you interested in making a comment?
Yeah, I will. Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay.
You have to stay.
You can just stand at the podium. It's not necessary for you to tell us your name, Mr. Barenfeld.
This is longer probably than 2 minutes. I'm just gonna go right to the middle of it, I guess. So thank you for having us send out comments. Unfortunately, I've not had the opportunity to get to know Joe Knoll or Andy Pernsteiner on a personal level over the years that they have held office. But I believe they are fine people and have the good of our community as a priority within the offices they hold. I have, however, been able to get to know Art Frank and his family ever since they moved to Port Townsend. And I can say without reservation that they have excellent family values and have been deeply involved in positively enhancing our region the entire time. I believe that Art's honesty and integrity are without question, and in our conversations regarding his vision for the sheriff's position during the past election, I believe that he can bring the necessary changes needed in the department to address our community's rapid shifting policing landscape. The levels of drugs, domestic violence, mental illness that we see today are quite different from what they were 20 years ago or longer. And we need someone in the sheriff's role who has both local knowledge as well as extensive experience in other larger municipalities that have been facing this level of policing challenges for some time. Art Frank's resume speaks for itself on this and renders him as the most qualified individual to fill the vacated sheriff's position, urging the Board of County Commissioners to take this rare opportunity to break the established lineage of replacement and appoint Art Frank as Jefferson County Sheriff. Give him a chance to initiate his ideas for positive changes in force and to tap into his undaunted commitment to serve and to do what is best for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Do I just?
You don't have to. You can. Thank you. Okay, did I get everybody? Is there anybody in the room who did not comment who would like to? Hey, anybody online?
Go around again.
Anybody online who'd like to make a public comment today about the appointment of our Jefferson County Sheriff? You can use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I see a lot of folks there, but no other hands going up.
No hands going up.
So I will close public comment on this matter.
You have 30 seconds to discuss it. Make a
No,
decision?
we're,
Oh, okay.
for once, we're keeping the courthouse open late.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks to Billy out there for being
So-
willing to stay.
You guys, we have the option of having a second executive session. Do you have any interest in that or?
I think it's more important to have this dialogue. I mean, I feel like we said what we needed to say to each other and basically we're gonna say those same things in public, so.
Yeah.
Why go back into executive session, say the same stuff?
Yeah, okay.
It should be said in public.
Okay.
But who's gonna start?
Well, I'm happy to start and I will be the one in the room who is maybe drawing on my past professional experience in life. But I've been thinking about this a lot and this is the thing that has been waking me up in the middle of the night a lot. And because I've been hearing from so many people in both candidates' camps, really. I think we counted, over 60 letters in total received. Anyway, I have had a really good time working with Andy and Joe for the last 4 years. And I believe that, in my opinion, it's this action we're taking today would be like letting somebody go. And I'm not ready to let this team go. I'm not ready to let Andy go from this job. And I feel like we have an opportunity in November to elect, which is the role of how this role is normally filled, is through an election, an independently elected official. And I would say my vote would be to keep Andy in the role and to let the election have the conversation come out in the election. So that's where I'm at on it. And I'm just gonna say again that I've really appreciated working with you, Andy, and with you, Joe, over the last, and been my first term as a commissioner. And I'm sorry for all of you that you feel like I'm disappointing you, but I have thought about this a lot. I mean, you guys got all my sleep for the last about 10 days.
I can dive in, or calling you again.
No, I think it's an Amber Alert, actually, that's that.
I appreciate everyone taking time to come and weigh in on this, and I appreciate, all three applicants. I like them all. I know that Brett kind of removed himself from consideration, so I just want to acknowledge what a fine officer Brett Englund is as well. And I know and I respect both Andy and Art quite a bit. I think I work in the nonprofit arena more with Art Frank than I do with Andy. We're both South County residents, and I would probably call him a friend more than I would call Andy a friend, though I'm friendly with both and have great working professional relationships. I sit on the JeffCom board with both Art and Andy, and I can't say that both have been the chair in the time that I've been there for several years, and both have been responsible stewards of public monies as they negotiate with not just law enforcement, but firefighters, firefighting departments in a way that is can be uncomfortable, and both negotiated those with grace. So, it's a really challenging decision here. I am moved by Heidi's comment on, like, I don't know what our role is in this at this particular decision point. And I think we've had some suggestions on how to make that choice. And, it really comes down to, do we stay the course or do we make change at this point? And I think that's what I saw in most of the public comment that we received here and elsewhere. I think too about the internal systems and how they work together. And in that arena, I have seen Andy work much more internally with different departments, negotiating budget, kind of the give and take that comes in a healthy county family. And I would say that Andy has really excelled in that role, working with Joe as the undersheriff. And I would say he has grown in that role as a leader within the county, and that county system is different than choosing a leader, right? And I guess that's the place that I think many of the people that are campaigning for one or the other come in with, who is the leader that I want? And when I look at this, I think, what is the change that we should make? What is the system? I always try to bring kind of a system analysis to it. And while I think that many of Art's ideas are good and worth considering, I'm with Heidi that I think, we hear complaints all the time, all the time about different things that are going, when they're going great, not so much, when they're going poorly, a lot. And when they're going, not the way that people in the public expect, we still hear a lot. And haven't really heard a lot about the sheriff's department, which maybe we're just not hearing the issues. I think that there are improvements that can be made, and I think that we all choose Andy right now, that he should, working together with the ideas that are there, because I think Art does have a lot of professional experience and a lot of ideas that are worth pursuing. I think together we can always work through ideas and make them better. But to make a long story short, I think that I don't have a sufficient reason to make change at this juncture. I think that is a decision for the voters. So I would vote for Andy Prusteiner. Unless Heather convinces me otherwise.
Not here to convince you of anything. Boy. Taking this on, some of the things that we've all had to address in just this first month and a half. I mean, you're gonna hear my comments as a brand new commissioner, and that comes with lack of experience in this actual role. And it also brings new perspective. And hopefully I can add value along the way. This has been a really compelling and complex conversation in so many ways. When we got to sit down and talk with both candidates today, that was both informative and made things even muddier for me. I mean, every experience that I've had with you, Andy, has been stellar. The 29 letters in support of your candidacy came with heart and just like passion for the way you serve this community. And I think there are so many ways that you are the leader that we need in this role. I think what makes your candidacy important at this time is that old adage, I don't know where it comes from, it might be new and might not be old, but it is that people will not always remember what you say, they may not even remember what you do, but they will remember how you make them feel. And it's very compelling to me when I hear that from your deputies, that you show up for them and you are present and create that culture of a team. That is really compelling to me. And I don't know why Art doesn't engage in those things as much. And I think that is really compelling around leadership and creating that team. The thing that has made, if this would have been a slam dunk decision for me, if I hadn't heard all of this, all of the very compelling argument. And somebody said here, I think it might have been Linda, that said our responsibility is to choose the most qualified person. And we've had a discussion about what our job is here. I am not grateful to you, Sheriff, for having made this decision. But I totally support your decision because we got to move in through our lives and into the next step of our lives in the way that is best for ourselves and our family. And I am glad for you. And I think it was the right decision for you. So I say that somewhat facetiously, but it's put us in a very difficult circumstance. And the reason that it's so difficult for me is that this is an elected position. It is meant to be the will of the people. And we did not get as much feedback. Strangely, for anyone listening to this in the public, you see all of this feedback here in support of Art. But when we compare that to the written testimony, some of the verbal testimony, and the vote that the people very clearly, it was one of those mandate votes. I think we said it was 68% in favor of Andy Pernsteiner of Joe Knoll with Andy Pernsteiner as his second in command. And it wasn't just any other candidate, it was actually Art Frank that was the other candidate. So I think we have heard the will of the people here. And I think that is my job. I think it is a big part of my job to act on behalf of the people of Jefferson County. Now, the thing that makes it extraordinarily complex for me, and I know for you as well, and for anyone out there who's gonna have to make, make this vote in November, is that the arguments in favor of art are not just, we like art because he has great experience. These are consequential, very significant culture changing, concerning comments. Now, I do think that our job is to maintain the stability of the department right now, to make sure that this department can serve the people, maintain the peace, and help us move forward until November, until the vote can happen, until the will of the people can be served. And so when I hear from a department that does feel really stable right now, with Andy as their leader, that is also very compelling to me. I do not relish this decision because I actually do want to see change. And I would like to just highlight one sort of the difference in an answer that I got in asking the same question in the interviews today. And I'm sorry those couldn't be public, but there were good reasons. There was good reason for that. And the biggest reason for me was that I believe it would have given one candidate an advantage over the other if they were able to see that other person's interview. And so just to speak to some people who I know had concerns about the fact that we decided to do our interviews in our offices and not as public. And that was the biggest compelling reason that I felt like that was important. Because I didn't want to advantage one candidate over the other unnecessarily. But the question that I asked of both candidates was about accreditation. And knowing that that accreditation process has not been completed, but hopefully will be very soon. And Andy has been outspoken about saying that he's going to make that happen. But when I asked both candidates what they thought, why is that accreditation process important? And Andy, you said that you thought it was important about checking the box, but that it really wasn't going to do much to change the culture of the department. Art's answer was that he gave an example that if we go through and get a college degree and we just check the boxes, we're really going to come out with a piece of paper, but no knowledge, no impactful change that you can go out and put into action in the world. But if you take that accreditation process and you are willing and open to learn from what it is intended to do, which is to create policy and allow you to track data, just like we talked about. But it also is intended to help departments move toward the kind of policing that I think we are clear in this department, or sorry, in this county, and the accrediting body is also clear that those changes need to happen. And you've heard from people here today. You've heard that that's what they want to see. They want to see that we are moving into the future, that we are keeping pace with how policing is changing and needs to change. And I think that if you step into this role and take that to heart, that you can make those changes slowly and with absolute 100% buy-in from your department. And that is really important too. I don't know what else to say, except that I will vote for Andy Pernsteiner today. And, there is a question, and I think this question should be in the hearts of our community right now, that when we go to vote in November, that we get to ask, how is this department taking that direction to heart. The words that you have heard from your community today are out there. Right, and as I was saying, this is complex because I didn't just hear it from one person or 5 people. It's a lot of people. And these people represent a lot more people. And I will just end by saying that I've said to you all that I come from a family of all military and police. All males in my family, except for the ones I married. And so I have a deep, deep abiding respect for the work that you do. And I am so grateful to both of you for the work that you've done in this community. And I said to both candidates today, I don't think that those of us in the public who have not experienced being in this first responder role, I don't think we really fully understand what it means to have each other's backs the way this team has to have each other's backs. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to hear this almost word for word a second time, but I think it's really important for the public to understand that the fact that Andy has his team's back and they really want him in this role, I think that gives him the opportunity to start making the kinds of slow, methodical, purposeful, meaningful change that we need in the department while still honoring the work that they have done and bringing them along. So I hope that your whole department takes your leadership to heart and is willing to take some hard looks at the way things need to continue to evolve, just like every other department needs to evolve, just like we will need to evolve. I feel like I'm soapboxing now, so I'm just gonna stop. But this is really a hard decision. And it's hard because you all have brought very, very important points to bear. And so as voters, let's all hold each other accountable and make sure that we continue these conversations right up until November so that we can have a real vote. Until then, we will try to hold that space.
You wanna make a motion?
I would make a motion to appoint Andy Pernsteiner as the sheriff for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office until the vote in November.
I will second.
I have a comment before we vote on this motion. And because as chair of the board, I feel like my job is in service to the board doing its job. And so I didn't say a lot of comments initially, but wholeheartedly support Andy in his work, and also have heard a lot of concern in the community about what's going on at other levels of government and how there may be some lawlessness coming. Well, we're seeing it unfold as we watch what's going on at the federal level. And I'm concerned for our community members who don't fit the description of white male.
Thank you.
So I'm concerned for most people in our community right now. And you know this, Andy. I hope that we can partner to protect our entire community from threats that they may be feeling over the next, between now and November, and for a long time after that.
Moving forward.
Because I really feel like that's how we have to go forward.
And let's protect our white males too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just wanted to say that because it's been the thing that I've heard the most about lately, and it's not about one personality or the other, but it's about the rights we have as citizens to take care of our community. And that's what I see the sheriff's office holding a big part of in our community, is that caretaking. So I'm happy to call the question. All in favor of the motion on the floor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Now, housekeeping, I heard there might be a resolution for appointment, but Melissa Clemens in the audience, and she hasn't raised her hand, and also there would be an oath of office that can be conducted. I don't know.
Do we have the oath?
Oh, we have our.
Yes, my Brenda's here.
Okay.
I just saw her.
Let's
Oh, there she is.
do it. Brenda,
So do that now?
Yeah.
are
Okay.
you ready, Andy?
I am.
Okay.
And if there is a resolution to be done, maybe it goes on consent.
Brenda, can you come up here so we can?
Yeah, yeah, I will. I
Yeah.
just have a
Yeah.
question. Okay.
Takes a lot of guts to take this oath in front of this room today. So raise your right hands. Do you, Andy Fernsteiner, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington, and all local ordinances, and that you will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office of sheriff
Yes, I do.
in and for Jefferson County, Washington, according to law, to the best of your ability?
Yes, I will.
Thank you for taking this on.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Don't stop coming.
Contributions.
Yeah.
Our job.
Okay.
Thank you for training and I appreciate it.
Okay, we have a couple of items of business to take care of before we adjourn.
Melissa said, she sent you the resolution, Mark. Probably know what's, yeah.
You want me to send it to you so you can print?
Okay, so why don't we,
Oh, I don't have an email here. I can put it in my email folder.
Congratulations.
I can, you can, are we printing it here though? We only want ours.
Color, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we'll go to my office.
What's that?
Do we need to do the resolution today?
Thank you.
Can you ask Melissa?
Yeah.
I'll run down and get it.
Okay, we can take care of this other piece of business, which was
Yes.
the email that we talked about earlier this morning. Regarding the points we wanted to communicate to the Statesman group.
Yeah.
And I think we've all received that email.
Are you at a place you can share it on the screen so we can share it with the public?
Yeah.
I'm not in the meeting
Was this
yet.
the result of the 1:30 exec or just the morning exec section?
This is the afternoon, isn't it?
When I asked Philip Hunsaker in the hallway, he had said it was a 1:30 exec section.
Yes.
Yes.
We talked
I want to
about
confirm that.
it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it wasn't emailed to me, so I don't have it.
Oh, you
by
don't? Okay,
email.
I have it. Let me get in the meeting real quick.
I just have an email from Philip saying that he gave Carolyn our copies.
Just if you promote me to panelist here once I get in. Oh, I'm already in.
Oh, I have it too.
Okay.
You do? Maybe I do and I'm not seeing
There
it.
was an earlier note, but I've got it
Yeah.
up already.
Great. Thanks, team.
Need public comment.
Find the right one. Right, too many things.
Oh, I think it was wonderful.
So this is what Josh Peters and Philip Hunsucker came up after we had a conversation. So this is a proposed email for me to send to Garth Manning
Of the Statesman group.
of the Statesman Group.
Right.
And I can outline, basically, we talked about some options for proceeding. We want to convey our support. We really believe that the first option, which we've been pursuing so far, is the best for the successful outcome of the short plat hearing.
But we have 4 options here. We're not really recommending or even agreeing to the second one right now, which was getting a new planner, just because that is just going to add a lot of time, and it doesn't look like a constructive path to getting them to where we all want to get them, which is a successful hearing about the short plat.
But we are including it as an option. In other words, we would, if they choose this option, we would go with it, right?
Well, we didn't say that in this email exactly. So we said we're willing to follow the other courses. Right now, the email as drafted doesn't say we'll do that if you want.
It says the county will honor any of these choices
Yeah.
states made.
Yeah, I guess it does say that. All right, so we would go with that.
I mean, I think we try to make it clear that
Yeah, we would.
we don't
You're
think
right.
this is in their best interest, but.
Yeah. If that's what they choose. Maybe that is, sorry, that's accurate. The third option would be without any civil review. This is, again, highly not recommended. But if that's what they want to do, what Statesman wants to do, we'll do it. Or the fourth option is to have county staff finish the staff report in the record required by Rule 4 without any civil review of the documents. Again, we would try to get a hearing earlier than May 16th. But there's caveats to that as well. So.
And I think what you're showing is a slightly previous version, because I'm noticing a note from Josh saying that Christina's name was misspelled in this version.
Okay.
This one.
But this looks like.
It's fundamentally.
It looks like exactly the same.
Yeah, this one's correct. This one does say Hayworth.
Yeah.
No.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to make
Good
sure we're
catch,
sending the
Josh.
right one.
Yes. Okay. So I think we're looking for an authorization for me as the District 3 Commissioner to send this email to Mr. Mann.
Yeah.
And I think the idea was that these 4 options were presented to us by our prosecuting attorney, and the discussion was, well, if we're comfortable with any of these, shouldn't it be the project owner that decides which one they think is in their best interest? And so I think that's the reason for articulating all 4 options and letting the project owner decide. And right, and Greg really doesn't want you to, and neither does
Staff,
BCD,
no.
yeah, because they really feel like it's not gonna be and I think people really are wanting to move this forward as quickly as possible.
And I would say that I think DCD thinks the fastest path is option 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
even if we have an earlier hearing, there's a risk that it doesn't make it through the hearing, which would throw it back, up to a year as kind of go back to the beginning.
Right, but rather than just forcing that
Agreeing,
option, yeah. We give these options to the project owner, and so that they can weigh in and really determine what they think is gonna be in their best interest. Hopefully one of these options will feel like, it's a good option
Yeah, I mean, it's
for them.
It's stunning to me how some of the actions of the proponent seem to be slowing the project down.
Yeah, I mean, this very email is slowing it down. They're waiting to redo the review, basically. But here we are.
Yep, here we
Okay,
are.
I'm gonna stop
I'm gonna read
sharing.
this in a second.
Well, I'm happy to make a motion authorizing Greg to send this email to the Statesman Group regarding the next steps in the path forward.
With the correct email.
Yep. I will second that.
Okay, we should probably have public comments since no one
Yep.
had a chance to see it.
Yep, is there anybody with us? There's nobody with us in the Zoom room anymore.
Really?
Is there anybody with us? I mean, not in the Zoom room, in the physical room. Is there anybody still with us online who would like to make a comment regarding this email, us sending this email to Garth Mann of the Statesman Group and having Greg do that for us regarding the next step with the Pleasant Harbor Master Plan Resort? You can use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, but I see the names there. You all know that. No one's raising their hands, so I'm gonna close public comment.
Okay.
And I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And then, we printed out the resolution appointing Andy as sheriff.
Yeah.
I see you've already signed it, but sorry, I have to read it.
Okay.
We need somebody to share their screen so the public can see it.
Okay, the resolution.
Oh, we did actually take action.
Good, that gives me one more second. I'm sure.
Do we have it?
I think Melissa just.
Mark has it.
Oh, you want it on screen?
Oh, I have it here. Yeah, you wanna put it on?
Yeah, I'll share.
Okay.
Okay. Accurate to me.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Would you, can I make a motion?
Yeah, you have the title of the resolution in your motion, please.
Thank you. I would make a motion in the matter of, to approve a resolution, which doesn't have a number yet, in the matter of appointment of Andrew William Pernsteiner as sheriff for Jefferson County to fill the vacancy.
A second.
All in favor of the motion on the floor?
Oh, we need public comment on the motion.
Oh, public comment,
Public
okay.
comment.
Anybody in the Zoom room like to make public comment on the appointment of Andy Pernsteiner as sheriff? Andrew William Pernsteiner. You can use the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And we'll bring you over to comment, or
I think Stacy can comment on something.
not seeing any hands go up. I will close public comment and call the question. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Christina's name was correct. I'm glad I shared, but.
it was. Huh. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I will adjourn this. Is there something else?
No.
I will adjourn this February 24th, 2025 meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners. Thanks for your work today.
Yeah, it's a long one. Thanks.